Chapter 158. Chapter 158. The Demoness wants to bathe in my house? Chapter 158. The Demoness wants to bathe in my house? Poor. Jiang Hao was confused. But being an alchemist is very profitable. Why are they poor? Medicinal pills were generally expensive but highly coveted. Every cultivation realm had unique pills needed to refine cultivation. People usually saved money to buy pills because pills were effective. How could the alchemist be poor? How many alchemists do you think there are in the Candlelight Pill Pavilion? Leng Tian sighed. Over 2,300 alchemists. There are only 4 alchemists who can refine pills above the Foundation Establishment realm. Now, how many talisman makers are in the entire sect? Only a few hundred. Talisman making is not a very profitable profession, so the future is uncertain for them. Which is exactly the reason why fewer people venture down that path. Alchemy is different. It has good prospects and higher profits, so many people opt for that path. Alchemy even benefits cultivation, which is why there are far more alchemists than talisman makers. Many people only buy simple talismans. It is fairly easy to make. Pill refining is a very difficult job. Jiang Hao was somewhat surprised. The Candlelight Pill Pavilion had so many alchemists. Wouldn't they make a fortune if they ventured out? But then he remembered the situation in Heavenly Earth City. He felt that the market value was too low outside the sect. It wasn't easy to make money. Sister Leng, please go on, Jiang Hao said. He wanted to know the whole situation. Leng Tian sighed slightly. A high threshold means a higher expenditure of spirit stones. Although the Candlelight Pill Pavilion has provided a lot of assistance, alchemy requires constant experimentation to make progress. Each experiment costs a significant amount of spirit stones. Junior brother Jiang, you understand that making talismans also requires purchasing materials, right? And sometimes, those materials go to waste if you fail. So, just imagine how many materials alchemists need for their pill refinement. Add to that the high failure rate, and it becomes a loss with no returns. If you want to improve your alchemy skills, you have to practice continuously. I understand. Jiang Hao nodded. It was because of that same reason he had given up on becoming an alchemist. Slow progress, high investment, and a need for talent. Making talismans was easier. But what about those who can refine pills at the Foundation Establishment realm and above? Don't they earn a lot? He asked. Because there are simply too many ordinary pills, the buyback is not high. When selling pills, customers bargain a little and bring the price down even more. And this is with the sect taking care of us. The Snow Lotus Pavilion rarely sells ordinary pills, said Leng Tian. So, Foundation Establishment realm alchemists are quite poor. They can only break free from their predicament once they reach the Golden Core realm. After all, out of the 2,300 alchemists, around 50% are at the Foundation Establishment realm, and only about 20% of them reach the Golden Core realm. The Primordial Spirit realm accounts for about 15%. There are very few who have reached the Return to Void realm and beyond. What realms are there beyond Return to Void? Jiang Hao was curious. I'm not too sure about that. Leng Tian shook her head. I've heard that, even in the entire sect, the number of alchemists at the Return to Void realm and beyond can be counted on the fingers of one hand. Some seniors say that it's because our foundation is too weak. Jiang Hao could understand that although there were many alchemists in the Candlelight Pill Pavilion, their quality was average and mostly concentrated at the Foundation Establishment realm. However, the large number meant that there would be more people advancing in the future. High-level alchemists would contribute to the accumulation of knowledge and skills. Forging was considered inferior, and talisman making was not given much attention. In comparison, the sect was more concerned with formation masters. However, even formation masters didn't earn much money. The threshold was not much lower than that of alchemy because it was too difficult. Senior Sister Leng, are you from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion? Jiang Hao asked. Yes. Leng Tian nodded. She looked embarrassed. To be honest, my talent in alchemy is not very high. It's a bit embarrassing to admit. But some seniors, including myself, have thought of a solution. The best way to become a golden core realm alchemist is to first advance to that realm and then continue with alchemy. I see. Jiang Hao nodded. Advancing first was indeed better. With a higher cultivation level, everything else would be easier. He bid farewell to Leng Tian and went to buy some talisman-making materials. When he returned to his house, he saw an unconscious spirit beast hanging from a tree branch. Jiang Hao knew Hong Yuye had arrived. He looked around but didn't see her. He raised his head to see Hong Yuye on his balcony. Their eyes met. Then, a red mist surged around Hong Yuye, and she reappeared in front of him. Is there no place to bathe here? Asked Hong Yuye. The question caught Jiang Hao off guard. There is, but there is no wooden tub. Then buy one, said Hong Yuye. She threw the spirit beast to a corner and plucked a plump peach. If I need to take a bath, and you don't have a tub next time, you'll bear my wrath. Although Jiang Hao didn't understand why Hong Yuye would ever come to his house to bathe, he didn't dare refute her. He just nodded. I understand. He just hoped that she wouldn't trouble him again next time. Are you going to advance to the primordial spirit realm? Hong Yuye suddenly asked. She plucked a peach from the tree and tossed it to Jiang Hao. I remember you said the peach would be sweet. Try it now and see how it tastes. Senior, this peach. Jiang Hao wanted to tell her about the immortal peach tree but didn't know how. I'll try it now, he said hurriedly. He looked at the peach tree and saw that all the ripe peaches were gone. Did the spirit beast eat them? He took a bite. It was sour. Is it sweet or sour? Hong Yuye asked. Sweet and fragrant, Jiang Hao said. Really? It's sweet, you say? Her smile was sinister. Jiang Hao nodded. It's sweet. Bang. Jiang Hao was pushed against the wall by a powerful force. His back felt a bit sore. When he came to his senses, he realized that Hong Yuye had already disappeared from the courtyard. Soon, a pleasant voice rang in his ear. I won't let you work for me for nothing. I left some things on your table. You'd better do some research before advancing to the primordial spirit realm. There was a book on the table that wasn't there before. Jiang Hao looked at it curiously. On the cover were 4 big characters, light and dust. What kind of book is this? Jiang Hao flipped to the first page. In his confusion, he opened the first page. There was a sentence written on it. With its light, it is one with the dust. Moving forward, it can reach 1,000,000 miles. Retreating, it can disappear into the crowd without a trace. Is this a body technique? Jiang Hao muttered. A body technique was something he currently needed. Apart from the 1,000 miles of demonic sound, he didn't have any decent body techniques. Now that he had this light and dust technique, perhaps things would be much more convenient in the future. However, he didn't know to what extent it could be achieved. As he continued flipping through the pages, something wailed. The spirit beast had woken up. This time it didn't stay on the ground for long. It got up quickly. Master, you've returned. The spirit beast ran over to him in excitement. Master, did you bring me a gift? It asked as it jumped on the table. No. Jiang Hao closed the book and shook his head. Master, my friends on the road open their shops late. How about you go now and bring me one now? The spirit beast suggested. I didn't bring a gift, but I brought something else. Jiang Hao took out a coil of rope. Chapter 159, Chapter 159, The Spirit Beast and Dragon. Chapter 159, The Spirit Beast and Dragon. Jiang Hao tied the rope around a pole in the courtyard as the spirit beast watched curiously. However, it was too early to tie the beast up. Jiang Hao decided to observe the situation for the next few days. Once he was sure there were no major issues within the sect, he would tie up the spirit beast. What did you bring for me, Master? The spirit beast asked, touching its swollen face. You'll find out in a few days, Jiang Hao said. He looked at the peaches on the tree. Did you eat the ripe fruits? It was Xiao Li who ate them. The spirit beast threw Xiao Li under the bus. Did she come here by herself? Asked Jiang Hao. Xiao Li might be mischievous, but she still had some manners. Master, Xiao Li mentioned my name, and the peaches flew to her. Jiang Hao couldn't hold back his laughter. He told the spirit beast to leave some of the fruits on the tree. Jiang Hao entered his house. Something caught his eye. The place where he had impaled the half-moon blade was empty. His cracked sword was gone. Jiang Hao sighed. He then walked to his room and sat on the ground cross-legged. He was thinking about Hong Yuye's words. To advance to the primordial spirit realm, he needed to do a bit of research. It was indeed necessary to know as much as possible to prevent any accidents. He needed to visit the library once again. At the moment, there was still a considerable amount of time before he could advance to the next realm. He had about 9 months. There was no rush. The spirit beast tended to its injuries in front of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Jiang Hao opened the book he had just obtained. He planned to read it through once before attempting to study it closely. At midnight, Jiang Hao closed the book with a frown. He couldn't understand it at all. This cultivation technique was difficult and hard to comprehend. He could only roughly understand its essence. It was indeed a body technique, and it was for speed so that he remained undetected by others. However, it required him to merge his own strength and aura with the surroundings and conceal his sharpness to remain calm and composed. This technique was related to one's state of mind. Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh. The technique was the most challenging one Tnat Ni Na encounteria so ra. Although the 7 forms of the heavenly blade were difficult to learn, he could always use the clear and pure heart ability to learn them easily. However, the light and dust technique was complicated. It wasn't just about spiritual energy but also about mental stability. If his state of mind hadn't improved through the recent journey, he couldn't comprehend this technique at all. However, it was true that the most difficult techniques often turned out to be the most powerful ones. I will focus on it for the next 2 days. After reaching the primordial spirit realm, I should be able to learn some techniques from the Hong Meng Heart Sutra. By then, I'll have other abilities as well. Under the moonlight, Jiang Hao saw the spirit beast sleeping next to the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. It drooled in its sleep. Jiang Hao got up and observed his wooden house. There was indeed a small bathroom in his house that he used, but it was too small. In the past, he had designed a natural water supply device that constantly pumped water into the bathroom. So, he had never needed a tub. Jiang Hao also realized that putting a tub in the bathroom would take up a lot of space. Do I need to expand the room? He wondered. Jiang Hao realized that the sky was lightening up. Is it already dawn? Jiang Hao cleaned his house for a bit. Once the sun had risen fully, Jiang Hao walked out of the courtyard with the spirit beast. Did anything happen at the spirit herb garden when I wasn't here? Yes. Something significant did happen, said the spirit beast. Somebody has transformed the spirit herb garden completely and the people working there are suffering. Transformed? Jiang Hao immediately thought of Miao Tinglian. She was always nagging at him about how he should be running the garden. If she really transformed it, then he would have fewer things to do in it. Which would mean fewer bubbles. He regretted bringing her into the sect. Is there anything else? I, the spirit beast lord, have faithfully fulfilled my duty and served my master wholeheartedly. Jiang Hao sighed. Tell me something useful. What about Xiao Li? Has she caused any trouble? Somebody came to the cafeteria looking for you, master. That surprised Jiang Hao. What do you mean? They said Xiao Li often takes your name so that she can have extra food. Jiang Hao was speechless. He remembered that Xiao Li often used the spirit beast as an excuse when she got into trouble. She is using my name too? Jiang Hao sighed. Xiao Li was indeed causing trouble. The spirit beast too. If it continued to unlock its hidden talents, it would become even more powerful. His small courtyard couldn't contain it anymore. In a few years, he must find a way to release it. I regret bringing her into the sect. I thought all the trouble would be handled by the Cliff Master, but I always get dragged into it, said Jiang Hao. In a few years, when she can take care of herself, I'll tell her to go her own way. When he arrived at the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao saw Cheng Chou talking to someone. An outer sect disciple at the 9th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. Upon seeing Jiang Hao, the person saluted and then walked away. Senior brother Jiang, you're back. Cheng Chou exclaimed. He had looked forward to Jiang Hao's return. After the spirit herb gardens were taken over by other inner sect disciples, he felt a bit uneasy. He was afraid of being targeted. These 3 months had not been good for them because the guards kept changing. In the beginning, senior sister Miao Tinglian had been doing well, but after the renovation of the spirit herb garden, she had gone away to do other things. The other inner sect disciples didn't seem to be willing to take care of the garden. If Cheng Cho slacked off, he had to bear the brunt of their anger. No one dared to say anything. Jiang Hao noticed that many people in the garden looked unhappy. They were all worried. If it were only the Golden Core Realm seniors visiting to inspect the garden, there were fewer problems. However, usually, it would be some Foundation Establishment Realm seniors who came to inspect the garden. They were insufferable. The spirit beast was right about one thing. These people were suffering. Jiang Hao sighed. Wasn't he also struggling on the edge of life and death? Is there anything going on in the spirit herb garden? Jiang Hao asked as he walked through the garden. The garden had been transformed, and some growing methods had changed. He needed to familiarize himself with them. There weren't many bubbles around like he feared. There were a few here and there. That was at least better than nothing. Starting from tomorrow, he would steadily accumulate bubbles again. It would accelerate his growth. The matter is related to the Candlelight Pill Pavilion, Cheng Cho said. Some alchemists want to harvest the mature spirit herbs that they entrusted to our care. They want to take them back for free and pay back later. Has this kind of thing happened before? Jiang Hao asked. It has, but it's worse this year. It seems like they're intentionally doing this, Cheng Cho said. Why not just withhold the spirit herbs from them? Jiang Hao asked. Well, Cheng Cho hesitated. The Candlelight Pill Pavilion is a united place. Offending some of them would mean offending all the people from there. Not many are willing to take a risk like that. If someone does it, all of us will be targeted. We can't afford to make enemies in the sect. Jiang Hao was baffled. Chapter 160 Dealing with the Alchemists. Chapter 160 Dealing with the Alchemists. After listening to Cheng Cho, Jiang Hao could feel how much stress the Candlelight Pill Pavilion was putting on the spirit herb garden and its workers. The status of alchemists in the sect was indeed high, especially since they knew how to unite and leverage their advantages. Once targeted, the risk would be much greater. However, he wanted to know why the Candlelight Pill Pavilion was targeting the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Jiang Hao remained calm. What if we don't deliver the spirit herbs? Well, we would still need to sacrifice the space and guard the herbs and take care of them. They won't force us, but we will incur a loss. They can refuse to pay us because of the delay. How was this issue resolved in the past? Jiang Hao asked. We received inferior pills as debt repayment, Cheng Cho said. However, it was difficult to sell a batch of those pills since no one in the sect would buy them. We can only sell them outside the sect. Jiang Hao nodded. If the Candlelight Pill Pavilion chose to pay in inferior pills instead of spirit stones, it would be a loss for the spirit herb garden. There was no problem before, so why isn't it working now? Jiang Hao asked. The amount is a bit high, Cheng Cho said. How much? Jiang Hao asked. 3,700 spirit stones. Jiang Hao was astonished. It was no wonder the two sides were at a stalemate. There were nearly 4,000 spirit stones. Jiang Hao remembered the last time he had paid the fine to the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. It had taken him 3 months to gather that money. It would be difficult to earn that amount even after accepting multiple sect missions. Why is it that high? Jiang Hao asked. A Foundation Establishment Realm alchemist couldn't afford that amount. It's not just one person, but 6, Cheng Cho said. 6. Jiang Hao calculated. Even if it was divided equally, it would still be over 600 each. The amount was still considerable. What is the value of their spirit herbs? Jiang Hao asked. 14,000 spirit stones, Cheng Cho said. These spirit herbs require spirit liquid for growth, and we provide it. That's why the cost reaches 3,700. I see. Jiang Hao nodded. It seemed alchemists were wealthy, but their expenses were high. Now it seems that all 6 of them are running out of spirit stones, and they sent someone today to ask for spirit herbs. Continuing to delay this situation is not beneficial for us, Cheng Cho said. That's why I want your help, senior brother Jiang. Jiang Hao thought about it. This matter was not his responsibility, but the spirit herbs in the garden benefited him. Cheng Cho probably came to him hoping that he would accept some of the pills since they knew he earned spirit stones by making talismans. Is it only our garden suffering through this? Asked Jiang Hao. Others also have similar problems. 6 out of 11 branches are facing this issue. Actually, everyone wants to refuse them, but no one dares to be the first to stand out. Everyone understood this. They were all waiting for one branch to stand up against the candlelight pill pavilion. Jiang Hao nodded. Go gather more information regarding this. I already did that, Cheng Cho said and took out a list of names. The situations of the 6 branches are all mentioned here. Due to the unity of the alchemists and the responsible nature of their orders, we need to find a solution. That surprised Jiang Hao. It seemed that people from other places were not easy to harass. Unity did have certain privileges and power. What about the other branches? Asked Jiang Hao. No one dares to provoke the White Moon Lake or the Law Enforcement Hall. Alchemists wouldn't dare to do the same to them. If they were investigated because of this matter, the alchemists wouldn't escape punishment. The 100 Bones Forest doesn't rely on the Candlelight Pill Pavilion for anything. So, they don't get involved with them at all. Jiang Hao took the list from Cheng Cho and looked at it. He found that a total of 40 people were involved. The total amount to be paid back was 25,000 spiritual stones. In a few days, I will visit them. I'll keep an eye on the spirit herbs for now, Jiang Hao said. He wanted to handle this matter peacefully. If the alchemists truly targeted the Foundation Establishment realm cultivators of the Cliff of Broken Hearts, he would have to start practicing alchemy himself. There was no need for that. It would be too time-consuming, and he couldn't afford it at the moment. The pills were of little use to him. His progress didn't rely on those pills. The only important one was the Snow God pill, but it wasn't found anywhere. Perhaps only sects like Clear Sky School or the Bright Moon sect had one. He could ask Liu Xingchen about it. He postponed the matter of the debts for a few days because he needed to comprehend the light and dust technique in those few days. Maintaining the best state of mind would give him a sense of security. Jiang Hao asked about Xiao Li. Junior sister Xiao Li is getting greedier. The cafeteria wants to talk to you, senior brother Jiang, said Cheng Cho. There is no other problem. Junior sister Xiao Li always plays with the spirit beast in the garden most of the time. The seniors who taught her have given up on her completely. Jiang Hao sighed. I'll visit the cafeteria later. Spirit beast, did you pluck senior brother Jiang's peaches today too? Asked a voice. What did you say? The spirit beast said righteously. I never do that sort of thing. Really? Xiao Li ran in and pinched the spirit beast's cheek. She seemed to want to say something more, but she saw the spirit beast winking at her. She was confused. However, she saw Jiang Hao walking over to her. Instinctively, she hid the spirit beast behind her back and stood up. She lowered her head as if she had been caught doing something wrong. Chapter 161. Chapter 161. What will you get from raising a dragon? Chapter 161. What will you get from raising a dragon? In the garden, Xiao Li stood there silently looking at her feet. She looked dejected. Cheng Cho was surprised. Junior sister Xiao Li was not afraid of anything, except Jiang Hao. Even when she visited the garden when Miao Tinglian was in charge, she had never looked like this. Cheng Cho had only seen Xiao Li being mature and well-behaved at her home. She was afraid the 2 elders were too old. So, she wouldn't cause trouble. She wouldn't even eat too much because she felt it might not be enough for them. Jiang Hao looked at Xiao Li. Have you eaten? Xiao Li nodded. I heard you haven't been serious about your studies and cultivation lately, said Jiang Hao. Yes, Xiao Li said in a small voice. Beast, Jiang Hao called. Master, I'm here. The spirit beast jumped onto Xiao Li's shoulders. I have a mission for the two of you, Jiang Hao said calmly. There is a new disciple in the outer sect. His name is Chu Chuan. You need to check up on him every week. How do we test him? Xiao Li asked. Use your fists, Jiang Hao said. I'm good at that. Xiao Li was excited. The spirit beast raised its head smugly. Finally, Master is going to let people know of my greatness. Jiang Hao ignored them and asked Cheng Chou to follow them every week to keep an eye on them. It was almost the end of the year. Jiang Hao looked at Xiao Li. Remember to advance in the next 2 months. I'll get Cheng Chou to send you back home in a few months. Xiao Li jumped up. Jiang Hao ignored them and began to tend to the spirit herbs. Except for the simple pavilion, everything else had changed. He walked to the area where the 100 Bones forest had planted their spirit herbs and observed it carefully. He realized that his aura was a little chaotic. The spiritual energy was entangled and unable to be released normally. It seems that senior sister Miao knows about the spirit sealing technique. Is she trying to help me? Wondered Jiang Hao. Miao Tinglian had always treated him well. She was grateful to him because he had helped her reunite with Mu Qi. The small gestures were enough to repay the favor he had done for her by bringing her into the sect. She didn't need to go out of her way. Jiang Hao was aware of this. He had been in the demonic sect for too long, and he knew that expecting others to repay favors never went well. At noon, Jiang Hao headed to the outer sect cafeteria. He wanted to know why the staff wanted to see him. Xiao Li followed along. When they entered the cafeteria, he heard people whispering. She's here. Eat fast. Put it in your bowl. Junior sister Xiao Li doesn't snatch the food away from the bowl. Jiang Hao watched them. He realized that they were busy trying to protect their food. It was as though they faced a great enemy, and they needed to protect their belongings as best as possible. Junior sister Xiao Li, we paid for this. You can't steal these from us. Jiang Hao sighed and used the daily appraisal on Xiao Li. The food that was given to outer sect disciples was not enough for a dragon. Jiang Hao felt helpless. Dragons were not easy to raise. Senior brother Jiang, said a young man. He was Feng Yang, an inner sect disciple of the Cliff of Broken Hearts. He was in charge of the cafeteria. Xiao Li had bothered them a lot. However, she always took the spirit beast's name while visiting the cafeteria. So, they all assumed that she was a disciple that Jiang Hao valued. Nobody wanted to offend an inner sect disciple, so they let her do as she pleased. The management had intended to visit Jiang Hao regarding the matter, but he hadn't been inside the sect. They were planning to visit him in a few days. They didn't expect Jiang Hao to come directly to the cafeteria. Junior brother Feng, Jiang Hao said politely. I heard that junior sister Xiao Li has troubled you a lot. I apologize for her behavior. Senior brother Jiang, you're too polite, said Feng Yang with difficulty. It's just that, people have been complaining a lot lately. There were not many people from the Cliff of Broken Hearts who were put in charge of different departments. Usually, only the formidable disciples got that chance, and they were always overseen by the Cliff Master himself. Junior sister Xiao Li is still growing, so her appetite is a little big, said Jiang Hao. Can you prepare food imbued with abundant lifeblood for her? I'll forbid her from snatching away food from other people. Food with sufficient lifeblood essence? Feng Yang frowned. Such food would be too expensive. It would increase their expenses a lot and might incur a loss. You don't have to worry about the money. Jiang Hao handed him 30 spirit stones. I'll pay for her once a month. Please use these spirit stones to prepare nutritious food for her. If spirit stones are left after the expenses, you can keep them. 30 spirit stones? Feng Yang looked at Jiang Hao in disbelief. He only received 20 spirit stones per month as someone in the early stage of the foundation establishment realm. However, this senior was willing to spend so much to feed his junior. It was unbelievable. He couldn't refuse. The matter was resolved. Xiao Li would be given better and more filling food. Jiang Hao forbade her from snatching food from other people in the cafeteria. If she acted rashly, she might attract trouble. Fortunately, the people in the cafeteria were easy to talk to. Jiang Hao sighed as he left the cafeteria. He was already raising a spirit beast, an immortal peach tree, and now a dragon. All these things cost a lot of spirit stones. At least the peach tree had the chance of turning into an immortal peach tree after 9 incarnations. He could obtain 9 bubbles from it. The spirit beast just caused trouble, but even it could be released after its bloodline was completely awoken. As for Xiao Li, he didn't see any benefits of raising a dragon. He could only try his best to help her. Otherwise, she might cause too much trouble. "Do you get that hungry?" asked Jiang Hao. "Eating more will help you grow taller," said Xiao Li. "My parents wanted to see me grow tall." Jiang Hao was at a loss for words. He didn't say anything more. Her 2 adoptive parents didn't have long to live. He asked Cheng Chou to take Xiao Li and the spirit beast to meet Cheng Chou. When he returned to the spirit herb garden, he saw an outer sect disciple causing a commotion. Those spirit herbs were prepared by a senior. Chapter 162, Chapter 162, Master's Secret Pleasure. Chapter 162, Master's Secret Pleasure. Jiang Hao looked at the person causing the commotion. The 100 Bones Forest at least sent an inner sect disciple even when they were there to cause trouble. How much did the Candlelight Pill Pavilion look down on them? Jiang Hao walked over to the person. The outer sect disciple lowered his head in fear. "If they are in a hurry, let them come here themselves," said Jiang Hao. "Yes. Understood," said the outer sect disciple. "Yes, yes." The outer sect disciples did not dare to be impudent. "You can go back now." Jiang Hao didn't make things difficult for him. An outer sect disciple was only following orders, after all. Jiang Hao knew that the alchemists would visit soon. He wanted to see what they planned. After that, he tended the spirit herbs in the garden for a while. He had thought that spies and traitors would be here to see what he had been up to. However, no one visited him. In the evening, Jiang Hao returned to his house and extended the bathroom. Only then did he take out the light and dust book and began to read it. The next day, he found some bubbles in his courtyard. After that, he went to the spirit herb garden and found more bubbles. 7 days passed in a flash. Jiang Hao woke up from his meditation. He slowly closed the book. The first ray of sunlight fell on him. "Beast," he called. "Yes, Master." The spirit beast noticed that Jiang Hao had disappeared from the chair he was sitting in. The spirit beast rubbed its eyes. He was sure that his master had been there just moments ago. It looked around. "Master, where did you go?" "I'm here." Jiang Hao appeared beside the spirit beast. Jiang Hao was satisfied. The light and dust technique was more powerful than he had expected. It was so efficient for sneak attacks. Jiang Hao sighed with emotion. He had thought that he would need more time to comprehend it. Today, he would visit the alchemists and solve this matter once and for all. A week has passed. "Make sure you test the new disciple," said Jiang Hao as he watered the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. "Also, pick some ripe peaches for Xiao Li." The spirit beast picked them up quickly. When they arrived at the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao instructed Cheng Chou to take the spirit beast and Xiao Li along to check on Chu Chuan. Jiang Hao decided to pay a visit to the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. In these 7 days, some outer sect disciples had visited the spirit herb garden to pester the workers there, but none of the alchemists had come themselves. "Beast, do you want to fight first or should I?" asked Xiao Li along the way. "Of course, you should do it. If you can't defeat him, then I'll step in. I'm your big brother, after all." The spirit beast crouched on Xiao Li's shoulder. "You can fight him however you want. No one is your match. In that case, I won't hold back." Cheng Chou followed behind them, afraid that Xiao Li might accidentally kill someone. No one under the Foundation Establishment realm could match Xiao Li. Only some disciples in their Foundation Establishment realm had some leverage over her. The spirit beast was in the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment realm, so its strength was extraordinary. After a short while, they found Chu Chuan, who was practicing his cultivation. "Junior brother Chu, do you remember me?" Cheng Chou asked him gently. Chu Chuan was dressed in the sect's attire. His dark skin glowed in the sunlight. He looked far better than he was when he arrived in the sect for the first time. He had already reached the first stage of the lifeblood refinement realm in the past 2 days. The Heavenly Note sect was indeed extraordinary. The spiritual energy was so dense here that it helped him with his cultivation. When he saw Cheng Cho approach him, he bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Senior Brother Cheng. Of course, I remember you." He knew that Cheng Cho was in the 9th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. He didn't dare disrespect him in any way. "Today, we're here to test your progress. Your opponent is Junior Sister Xiao Li," Cheng Cho said with a smile. Junior Sister Xiao Li is also at the 1st stage of lifeblood refinement realm, but her strength is extraordinary. So, be careful. Understood. Chu Chuan was excited to be tested. After reaching the 1st stage of the lifeblood refinement realm, he had felt a little confident in himself. He wanted to test himself too. He looked at Xiao Li. Since she was a girl, he decided to go easy on her. "Should we begin?" Xiao Li asked. "Yes." Chu Chuan nodded. He was observing his opponent to test her strength. He was still thinking about how to make his move when, boom! Chu Chuan felt his head go blank, then he grimaced in pain. With a loud thud, he landed on the ground face first. This is the 1st stage of lifeblood refinement realm? Chu Chuan struggled for a while and then managed to get up with difficulty. He had a cut lip and a scraped cheek. He looked at Xiao Li in disbelief. His confidence was shattered. However, he was unwilling to give up. Chu Chuan knew that he wasn't very strong, but he refused to believe he was this weak. "Xiao Li, you struck him too hard. How can you test someone's progress if you knock them down with one punch?" said the spirit beast. "You have to at least strike them 3 times to see how strong they are." "Oh," Xiao Li walked up to Chu Chuan, raising her fist. Chu Chuan was speechless. Boom. Chu Chuan felt like everything was spinning around him. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, he heard the voice of the spirit beast again. "It seems that I won't have a chance to step in after all. Maybe if I become a great demon, I'll get to fight someone." Senior Brother Jiang said he doesn't want to raise great demons, Cheng Cho said. "My master is contradictory in his words and thoughts. Despite what he says, he secretly enjoys it," the spirit beast shamelessly declared. "Everyone knows that from now on, I will protect my master. Let's send Junior Brother Chu for some treatment first. When you test him next week, be a little gentle. At least give him a chance to showcase what he has learned so far." Chu Chuan felt embarrassed. He wanted to become stronger. Jiang Hao looked at the list as he walked to the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. The first person on the list was Ying Jie, with a cultivation at the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. He was planning to advance to the Golden Core realm soon. To be a Golden Core Pill alchemist, it wasn't necessary to be in the Golden Core realm. It only meant that the alchemist should be able to refine Golden Core pills. Even if an alchemist was at the Golden Core realm but couldn't refine pills properly, then they would still be considered a Foundation Establishment alchemist. According to Senior Sister Shijie, most people wanted to become a Golden Pill alchemist first before advancing to the Golden Core realm. Jiang Hao heard voices when he reached their courtyard. "Some people can't take it anymore. It seems they will surrender tomorrow. Senior Brother Ying is almost a Golden Core Pill alchemist. They're scared of him. I told you. What do we need to pay them spirit stones? Just give them the inferior pills we have on hand and let them figure out how to sell them. I heard that the people from the Cliff of Broken Heart are still stubborn. Should we give them a taste of our power? I heard some people whispering behind our backs, wondering why we didn't just rob them. Robbing them isn't a good idea." Chapter 163, Chapter 163, Robbery. Chapter 163, Robbery. Jiang Hao glanced at the people. There were a total of 7 individuals, but it wasn't certain if all 6 of them were the ones who owed money to the Spirit Herb Garden. After listening for a while, Jiang Hao was able to confirm that 5 of them were the people he was looking for. He then left the place. In the beginning, he had planned to visit each person one by one and observe them. Now, it seemed unnecessary. Afterward, he followed the second list and found another group of people. Once he confirmed that they were the ones he was looking for, he proceeded to find a third group of people on the list. I have spirit stones, but I only produce low-quality pills. So, I'm going to offer those. Ha ha ha. Do you think they will cooperate with us next time? What's there to fear? We'll just find another group next time. There are always some idiots in the sect. Jiang Hao tried to remember their faces and moved on to the next location. When almost all the people on the list had been identified, Jiang Hao headed to the various spirit herb gardens in the sect. Fortunately, there was no one from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion in the gardens. He didn't want to get involved with them again. It was too dangerous. The pavilion master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion might target him. Once he determined their locations, Jiang Hao returned to the spirit herb garden. Jiang Hao was tending to the spirit herbs when Cheng Chou arrived and informed him about the day's incident with Chu Chuan. It made sense that Chu Chuan was weaker than Xiao Li. He didn't interfere. Jiang Hao planned to continue testing him. With Chu Chuan's talent, Jiang Hao had faith that he would gradually become stronger. Only then would he be able to surpass Chu Jie. 3 months had passed since coming back to the sect. Chu Jie might be well on her way to the second stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. She had talent, cultivation techniques, resources, and a renowned teacher to teach her. She would be able to attain the foundation establishment realm in the next 6 or 7 years. As for Chu Chuan, it was almost impossible for him to attain it. Everything depended on how far he could push himself. Jiang Hao returned to his house. The spirit beast wasn't there. He had asked the spirit beast to take some spirit stones and pills to Chu Chuan. These were the ones given by the Bright Moon sect. Every time Chu Chuan advanced, Jiang Hao would return a portion to him. The sky was dark. Jiang Hao stood up and disappeared from the spot. In the courtyard of the Candlelight Pill Pavilion, 8 people sat at a table discussing alchemy. It seems that they are starting to loosen up. We need to prepare some low-quality pills, said a young man. It's all thanks to Senior Brother's methods that we don't have to go there ourselves. The problem can be solved soon, said a woman with a smile. The others were about to agree when they were startled by a sound. A blood-stained dagger pierced through the back of the woman. It surprised everyone. As for the woman, she never imagined that she would be stabbed from behind. The others instinctively activated their protective treasures. However, spirit swords emerged from behind them and pierced through them. Blood splattered everywhere. Please don't kill me, someone begged. A calm voice spoke. I have come to collect the money you owe. The crowd was filled with fear. They never expected that the people from the spirit herb gardens would dare to take such an extreme measure. Killing a disciple within the sect was equal to seeking death. No one dared to be this reckless. Senior, I don't owe anyone any money. I swear, given a chance, he would never associate himself with these people again. Boom. In an instant, a powerful force suppressed them. They all fainted. Jiang Hao looked at these people. He retrieved his spirit swords. He took their storage treasures and turned to leave. He didn't kill them. He had made sure to avoid their vital points. Killing 40 alchemists would have grave consequences. He targeted everyone who owed money to various spirit herb gardens. This way, no one would be able to pinpoint which spirit herb garden had taken action against the alchemists. For a while, Jiang Hao wandered through the courtyard. He moved quickly through them. He wanted to avoid being seen. However, after 2 such attacks, the alchemist sounded the alarm and began to fight back. Jiang Hao sighed. He had no choice but to retreat. On his way back, he passed through various spirit herb gardens. He left behind some spirit stones with a note. The problem was solved, and no one noticed him. Upon returning, he transferred all the stolen spirit stones into his own storage treasure and dumped all the pills and spirit herbs into the beast storage treasure. He destroyed the stolen storage treasures. Jiang Hao sat in his room, feeling worried. The commotion he had caused this time was big. I shouldn't underestimate the Candlelight Pill Pavilion, thought Jiang Hao. I wonder what will happen if the Law Enforcement Hall gets involved. He would have to wait until tomorrow to meet Liu Xingchen and find out. Jiang Hao checked the spirit stones. He had a total of 8,700 spirit stones for now. I lost over 1,000. However, he still had pills, spirit herbs, talismans, and other treasures. He needed to figure out a way to sell them without appearing suspicious. The next day, Liu Xingchen didn't come to meet him. The spirit herb garden received the spirit stones and finally resolved the issue. The gardens sent the spirit herbs back to the candlelight pill pavilion. They didn't want to keep them longer than necessary. All 6 branches received the spirit stones, so no one knew which branch was responsible for solving the matter. Even if the alchemists were united, they wouldn't dare target people from all 6 branches at the same time. That would be suicidal. On the 3rd day, Jiang Hao finally saw Liu Xingchen. His aura had changed again. In the past, there was a faint shadow of a dragon, but this time it was something else. It was an impenetrable black aura. What has possessed him this time? Jiang Hao looked at him. He didn't rush to find out. It's been a long time, junior brother Jiang, said Liu Xingchen in greeting. It has indeed been a long time, Jiang Hao replied politely. Junior brother Jiang, you seem to have become even more calm and strong, said Liu Xingchen. Anyway, the people of the Candlelight Pill Pavilion have been attacked. Over 50 of them are injured. Did you hear anything about that? I heard about it, but I don't know the complete story. He was just a bit puzzled. He had only injured about 30 people. Who attacked the other 20? These alchemists brought it upon themselves. They weren't willing to pay the money they owed to the spirit herb gardens of the 6 branches. In the end, they were surrounded and attacked by 2 people. They were severely injured and were robbed. Even the spirit herbs were plundered, said Liu Xingchen with a smile. He looked amused. Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. It seemed there was someone else who had taken action too. It was no wonder the news had spread this fast. The other person must have been too crude and noticeable in their ways. They had even stolen the spirit herbs. The person was indeed bold. I investigated the matter. It seems there were 4 people involved in the attacks, said Liu Xingchen. Jiang Hao was stunned. Chapter 164, Chapter 164, Possessed Again. Chapter 164, Possessed Again. 4. This was something Jiang Hao hadn't expected. He wondered if the alchemists owed money to others as well. It seemed the people had only wanted to attack. Jiang Hao, on the contrary, wanted to solve the problem at hand. The others had taken action as well but had stolen for themselves. The alchemists' numbers would only increase with each recruitment. It wouldn't make a shred of difference whether 30 or 50 were attacked. 4 people targeted the alchemists at the same time? Jiang Hao asked. Maybe not at the same time. Liu Xingchen looked around. Shall we talk inside? Of course, said Jiang Hao and led him into the courtyard. Liu Xingchen looked around. Junior brother Jiang, you have so many flowers and herbs now. Jiang Hao smiled. It seems that the 4 people who attacked the alchemists don't know each other, said Liu Xingchen as he sat on a chair. The first 2 who attacked seemed to be efficient and decisive. They injured around 38 people. The other 2 were a bit sloppy. They injured around 19 people. They must be in the early stage of the Golden Core realm or the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. The first 2 attackers might be beyond that level. Tell me about the latter 2 attackers, Jiang Hao said calmly. They robbed the spirit herbs. These 2 attackers were bold enough to grab them and run. They must be fairly strong. Did you find out who they are? Jiang Hao asked. 2 were caught, Liu Xingchen said with a smile. But the other 2 remain at large. The ones we caught are from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. So, the law enforcement hall didn't interfere and let themselves solve it internally. Such things happen. People have grudges. It's just that this caused quite a stir. Alchemists robbing other alchemists. Jiang Hao was surprised that they turned against each other. Sometimes it happened, but rarely. There was once an inner sect disciple who hadn't reached the Foundation Establishment realm. Jiang Hao had helped him once. He wondered if that person was still alive. It was unlikely. If they can't catch the attackers, will they just let the matter go? Asked Jiang. How? I think so. Liu Xingchen sighed. The law enforcement hall won't get involved in simple matters of fights and injuries. However, this time, many alchemists were injured, so the law enforcement hall had to investigate. However, we didn't expect the remaining attackers to be so difficult to find. Isn't it dangerous for the alchemists to be robbed like this? Jiang Hao asked. The first incident wasn't a big deal. The alchemists asked for it. No one wanted to dig deeper after that because it might raise conflict between the 6 branches of the sect and the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. The law enforcement hall wants to avoid that. Besides, it's normal for there to be a little friction between the branches. However, if there is a full-blown conflict and the law enforcement hall can't handle it, then the White Moon Lake will step in. The White Moon Lake? Asked Jiang Hao, puzzled. What will they do? Junior brother Jiang, do you know that the establishment of the sect's 12 branches was a gradual process? There was a branch that secretly instigated conflicts among the other branches. Eventually, it led to conflicts. At that time, the law enforcement hall neglected its duty and failed to discover the problem. The situation got out of control. Elder Baiji led her branch and other elders to intervene, said Liu Xingchen. Liu Xingchen looked at Jiang Hao. The branch that incited the conflict was completely wiped out, and a new branch was established in its place. As for the other branches, they either surrendered or were exterminated. Now the sect has become much more orderly. In the past, when conflicts arose, it was a bloodbath. Jiang Hao was astonished. An entire branch was eliminated. He was curious if the Candlelight Pill Pavilion would face the same fate if they continued to cause trouble, or if they would be pardoned because alchemists were valuable to the sect. As for the danger to alchemists are crucial for the growth of a sect. However, if someone hinders their growth, the accusations would be serious, said Liu Xingchen. I see. Jiang Hao was relieved. By the way, there's something I need to tell you. A person from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion is about to advance, but they don't have a vessel. So, he has been restraining himself. During this time, please avoid appearing in front of him. Otherwise, it might be dangerous for you. Jiang Hao nodded gratefully. Currently, the law enforcement hall has issued a mission to search for a vessel everywhere. If they find it, there won't be a problem. Still, I think they will hold some resentment toward you, said Liu Xingchen. What if they don't find it? Jiang Hao asked. It's hard to say, Liu Xingchen said. Your master's opinion will be crucial if that happens. Let's see if he is willing to protect you. Oh, there's one more thing, Liu Xingchen continued. There has been some trouble in the Devil's Den due to changes in the mining area lately. Occasionally, disciples from each branch are sent in. Be prepared. There aren't many idle disciples in the Cliff of Broken Hearts. What kind of problems? Jiang Hao asked in surprise. It's hard to say, but there have been a lot of demons appearing. They span various realms. Jiang Hao wasn't particularly worried. Instead, he was somewhat intrigued. Killing demons also had its benefits. It was an opportunity to become stronger. However, he needed to be careful of individuals targeting him, as well as some potential traitors keeping an eye on him. Since disciples from all 12 branches were sent to the Devil's Den, it meant that he might encounter anyone from any branch. Jiang Hao activated daily appraisal on Liu Xingchen. Jiang Hao was at a loss for words. As expected, Liu Xingchen was possessed yet again. Chapter 165, Chapter 165, Successful Incarnation. Chapter 165, Successful Incarnation. In the past, Jiang Hao would have cared a little. He would have tried to remind his undercover senior about it. But things were different now. Although he couldn't discern Liu Xingchen's thoughts, he felt that Liu Xingchen was ignoring the part about sorcery. Looking at the feedback from his divine ability, Jiang Hao realized that he had never seen such a reckless person before. However, one thing was certain, Liu Xingchen had an innate dragon aura, making him susceptible to possession. This also indicated that the mining site was indeed different. Mu Qi obtained an ancient inheritance inside, while Liu Xingchen encountered a powerful sorcerer. There should be more treasures inside. During the time you were away, The people from the Black Heavens sect took someone away. They didn't make any demands this time. This should have no impact on you, junior brother Jiang. However, it seems that many people still remember the incident with you, Liu Xingchen said. He also reminded him about the debt he owed to the law enforcement hall. Especially after the recent debt crisis, Jiang Hao felt that he would be in trouble if he didn't pay the spirit stones. Jiang Hao assured him that he would pay everything on time. Liu Xingchen got up and left. Jiang Hao accompanied him halfway and then headed toward the spirit herb garden. Along the way, he thought about his current situation. The biggest hidden danger so far is the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. As long as I don't go there, there shouldn't be a problem, at least for the next few years. It's hard to say what will happen after a few years, especially if they don't find a vessel. The Devil's Den shouldn't be a problem. It would be even better if I enter it after I advance to the primordial spirit realm. And there's the 100 Bones Forest. It's been so long, they must have planned something. Hao arrived at the spirit herb garden and began his daily routine of tending to the herbs. Over the next half-month, he sold various common spirit herbs, magical treasures, and talismans, earning a profit of 4,300 spirit stones. Deducting the loss of 1,300, he made a net profit of 3,000 spirit stones. Now he had 13,000 spirit stones on hand. Early the next morning, Jiang Hao stood on his balcony. It's been a month since I came back, and there doesn't seem to be any issues for now. I can proceed to the next step. He then walked to the courtyard, grabbed the spirit beast, and sealed its cultivation with his power. He then tied it to a tree to prevent it from coming into contact with anything else. The spirit beast woke up just as Jiang Hao finished tying it up. It didn't panic. It was familiar with the process. It seemed to have grown so much. "What are you planning to do, master?" it asked. Jiang Hao remained silent. He then untied the beast and carried it to the space in front of the house. He needed to take care of the immortal peach tree, so he couldn't tie the beast to the tree. It might disrupt the process. "From now on, you cannot eat anything other than what I give you to prevent you from losing control. You'll have to stay tied up like this," Jiang Hao said. The spirit beast had gained intelligence. Everything had become more troublesome. If the beast ate something else during the process, the spirit stones would go to waste. Jiang Hao would then want to stew it instead. There could be no room for accidents. Depending on the spirit beast to be self-disciplined was absolutely impossible. "What should I eat then?" the spirit beast asked. Jiang Hao took out 100 spirit stones. "Eat these." The spirit beast blinked. "Master, I don't have a big appetite." "We'll be fine." Jiang Hao ignored the spirit beast. "Eat." The spirit beast ate the spirit stones quickly in the beginning. After eating 50 of those, it started to feel uncomfortable. After 90, it looked at Jiang Hao and burped. "Master, I can't. I'll die of overeating. It's almost noon. It's lunch for you." In the end, the spirit beast swallowed all the 100 spirit stones. Only then did Jiang Hao leave the courtyard and head to the spirit herb garden. A month passed in this manner. The spirit beast had become accustomed to its new lifestyle. "Master, it's mealtime," the spirit beast said. There were only 19 days left for the beast to awaken its bloodline further. Jiang Hao approached the immortal peach tree. The fruits on it had all ripened. He kept a few and picked others to give to Xiao Li. Xiao Li had been quiet for the past few days. She hadn't caused any trouble. A few days ago, he gave Xiao Li 30 spirit stones to pay the cafeteria for her food. This shocked Feng Yang. They were really paying every month on time. However, it was nearing the end of the year, and Xiao Li had also advanced to the second stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. In a few more days, he could send her to her house for a visit. But he had to wait for the process of the spirit beast to be completed. "I wonder how long the incarnation process will take." Jiang Hao took out spirit stones and began to arrange them into a spirit gathering array. He had already spent a large sum of spirit stones. He had also fully repaid the 2,000 owed to the law enforcement hall. The spirit beast had consumed 3,000 spirit stones and still needed 1,900 more. The immortal peach tree required 4,900. In total, everything would cost around 12,000 spirit stones. Fortunately, because of the last incident with the alchemists, he had earned a considerable amount. After setting up the spirit gathering array, Jiang Hao left the courtyard and went to the spirit herb garden to collect bubbles and tidy up the spirit herbs. Thanks to senior sister Miao, everyone's workload had reduced significantly. For the past 2 months, with Jiang Hao on duty, they had not suffered any further mishaps. At this point, the new recruits understood that they were safe with him in the spirit herb garden. Moreover, they heard that people in other spirit herb gardens often lived in fear of the cultivators. This made them even more reluctant to leave the garden. Watching these people work, Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh. At night, Jiang Hao sat cross-legged on the floor of his house and looked at the nameless manual. Not long ago, he had studied the light and dust technique. He was only at the first level. The second level was the traveling 1,000 miles technique. It would be a breakthrough when it came to speed, but the specifics would have to wait until he understood it fully. The third level was the retreating and concealing from the world technique. It seemed to be a rare body technique, but it was related to one's state of mind. This technique would help him conceal himself even in a crowd. Unfortunately, Jiang Hao couldn't study it right now. Master, it's shining. Jiang Hao looked out and found that the immortal peach tree was indeed glowing. Under the effect of the spirit gathering array, the tree's power seemed to have been activated. It quickly converged with the last fruit. The leaves began to fall, and the branches started to wither. Even the fruit began to rot. That went on until the next morning. The once lush tree had turned into a withered mess, leaving only one luminescent fruit core on the ground. It's a success. Jiang Hao picked up the fruit core and appraised it. Chapter 162, Chapter 162, Master's Secret Pleasure. Chapter 162, Master's Secret Pleasure. Jiang Hao looked at the person causing the commotion. The 100 Bones Forest at least sent an inner sect disciple even when they were there to cause trouble. How much did the Candlelight Pill Pavilion look down on them? Jiang Hao walked over to the person. The outer sect disciple lowered his head in fear. If they are in a hurry, let them come here themselves, said Jiang Hao. Yes. Understood, said the outer sect disciple. Yes, yes. The outer sect disciples did not dare to be impudent. You can go back now. Jiang Hao didn't make things difficult for him. An outer sect disciple was only following orders, after all. Jiang Hao knew that the alchemists would visit soon. He wanted to see what they planned. After that, he tended the spirit herbs in the garden for a while. He had thought that spies and traitors would be here to see what he had been up to. However, no one visited him. In the evening, Jiang Hao returned to his house and extended the bathroom. Only then did he take out the light and dust book and began to read it. The next day, he found some bubbles in his courtyard. After that, he went to the spirit herb garden and found more bubbles. 7 days passed in a flash. Jiang Hao woke up from his meditation. He slowly closed the book. The first ray of sunlight fell on him. Beast, he called. Yes, master. The spirit beast noticed that Jiang Hao had disappeared from the chair he was sitting in. The spirit beast rubbed its eyes. He was sure that his master had been there just moments ago. It looked around. Master, where did you go? I'm here. Jiang Hao appeared beside the spirit beast. Jiang Hao was satisfied. The light and dust technique was more powerful than he had expected. It was so efficient for sneak attacks. Jiang Hao sighed with emotion. He had thought that he would need more time to comprehend it. Today, he would visit the alchemists and solve this matter once and for all. A week has passed. Make sure you test the new disciple, said Jiang Hao as he watered the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Also, pick some ripe peaches for Xiao Li. The spirit beast picked them up quickly. When they arrived at the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao instructed Cheng Chou to take the spirit beast and Xiao Li along to check on Chu Chuan. Jiang Hao decided to pay a visit to the Candlelight Pill Pavilion. In these 7 days, some outer sect disciples had visited the spirit herb garden to pester the workers there, but none of the alchemists had come themselves. Beast, do you want to fight first or should I? Asked Xiao Li along the way. Of course, you should do it. If you can't defeat him, then I'll step in. I'm your big brother, after all. The spirit beast crouched on Xiao Li's shoulder. You can fight him however you want. No one is your match. In that case, I won't hold back. Cheng Chou followed behind them, afraid that Xiao Li might accidentally kill someone. No one under the Foundation establishment realm could match Xiao Li. Only some disciples in their Foundation establishment realm had some leverage over her. The spirit beast was in the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm, so its strength was extraordinary. After a short while, they found Chu Chuan, who was practicing his cultivation. Junior brother Chu, do you remember me? Cheng Chou asked him gently. Chu Chuan was dressed in the sect's attire. His dark skin glowed in the sunlight. He looked far better than he was when he arrived in the sect for the first time. He had already reached the first stage of the lifeblood refinement realm in the past 2 days. The Heavenly Note sect was indeed extraordinary. The spiritual energy was so dense here that it helped him with his cultivation. When he saw Cheng Chou approach him, he bowed respectfully. Greetings. Senior brother Cheng. Of course, I remember you. He knew that Cheng Chou was in the 9th stage of the lifeblood refinement realm. He didn't dare disrespect him in any way. Today, we're here to test your progress. Your opponent is junior sister Xiao Li, Cheng Chou said with a smile. He had inquired about the price, and with the cost of materials and labor, it would be around 1,800 spirit stones. It would cost him 2,100 if he bought it ready-made. He genuinely felt that formation masters made a lot of money, unlike him. Talisman makers didn't earn that much. After paying Law Enforcement Hall, raising the Spirit Beast, and the Immortal Peach Tree, his spirit stones had dwindled to only 1,000. Fortunately, he was able to sell many talismans in the past 2 months. He had a total of 2,500 spirit stones left. After deducting 1,800, he would have 700 spirit stones remaining. In the future, he could only earn a little by selling talismans, but it would take a long time to accumulate another 10,000. However, the things he had gotten from his last journey hadn't been sold yet. Not dwelling on it further, Jiang Hao decided to focus on advancing to the primordial spirit realm in another 3 months. Where is your peach tree? A sudden voice interrupted Jiang Hao's thoughts. He turned to see a figure in red standing by the seedling. It was Hong Yuye. She looked confused. It had been 3 months since he had last seen her. Fortunately, Jiang Hao had prepared everything that was necessary, except for the tea leaves, which he had forgotten to replenish. It underwent an incarnation, Jiang Hao said. Incarnation? Hong Yuye turned to look at Jiang Hao. Interesting. After a moment of silence, she stood up and walked to Jiang Hao. I quite like this tree. From today, it's mine. Is that okay? Jiang Hao sighed and lowered his head. Would it even matter if he refused? Chapter 167. Chapter 167. Am I not reckless enough? Chapter 167. Am I not reckless enough? Jiang Hao wasn't surprised that Hong Yuye had set her eyes on the tree. He had prepared himself mentally because he knew she was going to ask for it. If the immortal peach tree underwent 9 consecutive incarnations, it would truly turn into a divine immortal peach tree. It would take 9 years for that to happen. Maybe he would advance in his cultivation realm during that time so that he might be able to refuse her. That was just wishful thinking. He knew he would never be strong enough. Even the 8th person on the list of top 10 disciples was at least in the late stage of the primordial spirit realm. Now that Hong Yuye claimed the tree as hers, there was nothing he could do. When do you plan to take the immortal peach tree away? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye looked at the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Together with that. Jiang Hao nodded. There was still time. Before, you said the fruit was sweet. This time, what do you think it will taste like? Sour or sweet? Sour, Jiang Hao said. When it matures, I will come to find you. Hong Yuye smiled. It seemed that she had already seen the answer. Hong Yuye walked into the bathroom that Jiang Hao had extended. It was quite spacious now. There was a wooden tub in the middle too. The floor was made of smooth wooden boards. There were small windows in the bathroom which were covered by a screen. Hong Yuye remained silent and then turned away. Jiang Hao had no idea what she was thinking. Presumably, she was satisfied, or else, she would have already slammed him to the wall. It seems like you don't know many spells. Hong Yuye sat on a chair in the hall. Jiang Hao served her Snow Queen spring tea. I'm still learning, but I'm getting there. He had the Hong Meng Heart Sutra, but he had to wait until he advanced to the primordial spirit realm. He knew most of the basic spells, but he hadn't learned any powerful ones yet. If you make a name for yourself, your sect will surely give you many good things, right? Spells, treasures, pills, spirit stones, you won't lack for anything. Hong Yuye sipped her tea. I'm more accustomed to the way things are now, which makes it convenient for me to help you raise your flower, senior. In that case, where do you plan to acquire spells, treasures, pills, and spirit stones? Hong Yuye looked at the tea in her cup. The sect will provide it. Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao and smiled. What about the spirit stones? I can earn quite a lot, Jiang Hao said. His income from talisman making was stable and better than that of an early-stage alchemist. Really? Hong Yuye took a sip of tea and smiled. Then why is the quality of the tea I always drink this bad? I thought you were poor, but it seems you're just brushing me off. A chilling aura emanated from her. Jiang Hao felt a bone-piercing coldness envelop him. Senior, you've misunderstood, Jiang Hao said hurriedly. I've been saving up spirit stones to buy better tea. The intense coldness disappeared. Hong Yuye calmly sipped her tea. If the tea isn't good next time, I will invite you to have tea at my place. Senior, please rest assured. I will find good tea for you. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. As for having tea at her place, he didn't want to think about the kinds of torture which would be prepared for him. Can the stone tablets be used now? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao hadn't paid much attention to that after he came back. He had been busy. It still can't be used. Really? Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao teasingly. I'll give you another chance. Do you want to answer that question differently? Jiang Hao shook his head. Changing the answer would imply that he had been lying. Hong Yuye chuckled. Although you're full of lies, you're quite lucky. Jiang Hao felt relieved. In the next couple of days, the influence on the stone tablet will disappear, so you'd better let it accept a master. Hong Yuye put down her teacup. Remember, don't get caught while being an undercover agent. What will happen if I get caught? Jiang Hao asked curiously. The stone tablet was in his possession, but he was hiding within the Heavenly Note sect. Hong Yuye looked at him and smiled. Why don't you try it? But I want to remind you. I'll save you just once, but I'll want something in return. Maybe a limb, or an eyeball. Jiang Hao was speechless. I'm very cautious. I'll make sure not to get caught. How old are you this year? Hong Yuye asked. I'm 23, Jiang Hao answered truthfully. When I was as young as you, I often looked up at the sky and felt like I could soar. Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao in confusion. But your way of living doesn't match your age. Is there something wrong with my behavior? Jiang Hao asked. It's not about your behavior, said Hong Yuye. You're missing something. What am I missing? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Hong Yuye slowly stood up, took a step towards the door, and then turned back. The recklessness of youth. Before he could respond, she disappeared. Do your undercover work well? If you don't make progress, I'll make you live as an undercover agent in the sect forever. Am I not reckless enough? Jiang Hao wondered. He always felt that he was too reckless for his own good. Being more impulsive than this would mean death. But Hong Yuye clearly wasn't referring to that. However, he understood her a little. Looking back at his life, it felt like he had lived a long, long time. It was understandable that he avoided being reckless, considering the events that had happened in his life so far. After finishing the remaining tea, Jiang Hao took out the stone tablet and glanced at it. He noticed that the stone tablet seemed much brighter now. Hong Yuye had mentioned that she would save him once, But Jiang Hao didn't want the situation to get to that. He went to the spirit herb garden. He was told that the cliff master was looking for him. That surprised Jiang Hao. His master never asked for him. Senior brother Jiang, there's a list here that requires your confirmation. A person from the spirit herb garden approached him. Since it involved the cultivation of herbs with certain difficulties, it required the approval of the person in charge of managing the garden. I'll look at it when I come back, Jiang Hao said. Chapter 168, Chapter 168, Advancing to the Primordial Spirit Realm. Chapter 168, Advancing to the Primordial Spirit Realm. Junior brother, it's been a long time, said Mu Qi when he saw Jiang Hao in Ku Wu Chang's house. Senior brother Mu Qi, it has indeed been long, said Jiang Hao. Mu Qi and Miao Tinglian had treated him well. Although they hadn't interacted much, they were on good terms, especially after Miao Tinglian arrived in the sect. Jiang Hao was glad and hoped it remained this way. He never expected people to help him. He was good as long as people didn't kick him when he was down. You all are here. Ku Wu Chang appeared in the courtyard. I called you here today because of the situation with the Devil's Den. Devil's Den? Mu Qi was surprised. Didn't senior sister Ning Xian go there recently? Yes. Ku Wu Chang nodded. However, the situation seems to have gotten worse. We need more people to go in there to balance things out. However, the situation inside seems to have gotten worse. We still need to add more people to the various branches to balance things out. This time, we are hoping to send someone in Golden Core Realm and Foundation Establishment Realm together. Do you have anything else to do? I'm not busy, said Mu Qi. Me neither, said Jiang Hao. The immortal peach tree had sprouted successfully, and the spirit beast had further awakened its bloodline. Jiang Hao had learned the light and dust technique too. Hong Yuye's request was almost fulfilled. He only needed to stock up on tea and figure out the stone's tablets. There was no problem. However, Jiang Hao hoped he could get 3 months before venturing into another Devil's Den. We'll set off in 2 months. Please make the necessary preparations during this time. When the time comes, you'll meet with the disciples from other branches and enter the Devil's Den together. Also, don't underestimate the demon dwellers. You might encounter other creatures too. There have been other entrances to the den. Be mentally and physically prepared for this, said Ku Wu Chang solemnly. Other entrances? Mu Qi asked. Jiang Hao was also very concerned. I'm not entirely sure. It might be in the sect or around it, said Ku Wu Chang. Jiang Hao's heart sank. This was dangerous. If he hadn't agreed beforehand, he could have made an excuse and said he had to cultivate to get out of the situation. Don't worry too much. The people from the Law Enforcement Hall and the White Moon Lake will keep an eye on the new entrance. It won't be easy for others to enter, Ku Wu Chang said in assurance. What you need to worry about are the demon dwellers inside. Go to the Law Enforcement Hall to accept the mission when you're ready. After that, Ku Wu Chang dismissed them. Jiang Hao and Mu Qi were the only ones left behind. Jiang Hao didn't know what Mu Qi wanted to talk about with the master, but he didn't care. He was worried that he only had 2 months. He didn't want to go on this mission without advancing further in his cultivation realm. There was also a possibility that there were other entrances to the Devil's Den. People from other sects could sneak into the Devil's Den. If that happened, he would be in danger. It's safer to advance to the primordial spirit realm in these 2 months before heading to the Devil's Den. The only way to get more bubbles to get close to advancing faster was to find more herbs to plant in his courtyard. However, where could he earn more spirit stones to buy more of those? Even if he sold the remaining red azure tea, it wouldn't fetch him much. When he returned to the spirit herb garden, an outer sect disciple handed him an order. Senior brother Jiang, the planting requirements for this herb are complicated, so I have to show it to you. Jiang Hao nodded. He looked at the new order and frowned. It was an order for planting some black lotus seeds. An order from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion? Jiang Hao was surprised. He looked at the requirements. He was only asked to help till they sprouted. It would take about 2 weeks for them to sprout into seedlings. Then, they could be transplanted. Is this credible? Jiang Hao asked. As long as you agree, they will pay enough spirit stones for it. However, they hope to carry out the transplantation within 2 months. Have you checked the seeds? There's no problem with them. They even paid a fixed price. However, they won't pay for spirit liquid. In other words, under normal conditions, the seeds will sprout in 2 months, and they want to take them away after that. Yes. How many seeds are there? 50. So many. Jiang Hao was a little surprised. When he had bought 1 black lotus seed, it had cost him 300 spirit stones. 50 seeds must cost around 15,000 spirit stones. Jiang Hao wondered if the seeds could germinate in a month without spirit liquid. Even if the spirit herb garden was in great condition, it seemed highly unlikely for the seeds to sprout without spirit liquid during that time. Jiang Hao was silent for a moment. Leave the seeds with me. Jiang Hao accepted 50 black lotus seeds from the outer sect disciple. There was no problem with the seeds at a glance. Jiang Hao found a fertile area in the garden and planted the seeds. It was not easy for this lotus to germinate. Even with spirit liquid, it took 7 whole days. Without spirit liquid, even a month might not be enough for it to sprout. On the bright side, Jiang Hao could depend on these plants to give him some bubbles, so he could advance to the primordial spirit realm soon. Even if he suffered a loss from this, he needed to plant these seeds. If even half of them could spawn bubbles, that would mean 25 bubbles in total. For the next 2 days, he watered the black lotus seeds with diluted spirit liquid, hoping that it would grow faster. If he used 1 bottle of spirit liquid a day, that would mean 900 spirit stones for 30 days. I hope everything goes well. He returned to his courtyard. Jiang Hao took out the stone tablet. It was still not ready. After 2 days, he checked it once again. Finally, it could be used. To be safe, Jiang Hao used his daily appraisal on the stone tablet. Jiang Hao wasn't surprised. It was fairly obvious. I wonder how many stone tablets there are in total. Jiang Hao didn't think too much about it. He went to his room and began to refine the magic treasure. Hong Yuye had taught him the method. He projected his mind to sense the changes in the stone tablets. He sensed 9 cubes floating in the tablet. He then began to refine it. Everything went smoothly. He had complete control over the stone tablet. It felt completely different from having only 1 stone tablet at hand. He had more control over it now. Jiang Hao noticed that countless stars had appeared on the tablet, forming a pattern. The huge constellation occupied the stone tablet. The constellations formed a word, Jing. Jing. Jiang Hao was puzzled. After that, the image disappeared, and he saw the messages appear and disappear. He couldn't figure out where they were coming from. Jiang Hao saw something flash in the distance. He followed it. He suddenly heard a voice. It was a woman's voice. I heard that the Heavenly Saint sect is anxious. They want to attack the Heavenly Note sect. Which one of you stays near the Hidden Cloud Prefecture? I heard the Heavenly Note sect has many treasures. He saw someone turn to look at him. Jiang Hao was stunned. Chapter 169. Chapter 169. Is this a group chat? Chapter 169. Is this a group chat? It was a boundless void. Within the circle of light, Jiang Hao checked on himself. He blended with the mist. He noticed other figures there. Their voices reached his ear. Jiang Hao could make out 3 people from the sound of their voices. He knew their names. The woman who spoke first was known as Gui. The taller individual was Liu and the slender one was Xing. Jiang Hao was astonished. The 3 people turned to look at him. I apologize for the interruption, he blurted out. Jing, asked Liu, the tall man. He had a deep voice. Are you new? Having a newcomer at this stage is quite unexpected. Do you know the rules? Asked Xing. Jiang Hao shook his head. He knew one thing for sure. He was known as Jing to these people. The stone tablet seemed to have given him an identity. The first rule is to introduce yourself. Tell us your name and where you're from, said Gui with a teasing smile. My name. Jiang Hao didn't think there was a rule like that. Even if there was one, he wouldn't follow it. He needed to make sure he wasn't discovered as an undercover agent. He was only sure of the one thing he had heard. The Heavenly Saint sect was planning to attack the Heavenly Note sect. He didn't know if the information was accurate, but there was a possibility that it could be related to him and the incident in the mines from before. In that case, I won't disturb you further. Goodbye. Jiang Hao couldn't give away his name or his secret. He decided to leave and prepare a plan before coming back here. He disappeared from sight before they could respond. He disappeared. Gui sighed. She had hoped he would fall for her tricks. This was the first time she had seen a rookie retreat so decisively. It seems that your plan to uncover his identity was a failure, said Xing with a smile. Gui was slightly disappointed. He'll come here again. That's true. Let's wait. Liu nodded. Jiang Hao left. He was surprised. He could enter the tablet and talk with other people. However, he did not know if there were any disadvantages to it. He took the stone tablet and looked at it again. He saw that messages kept appearing on the tablet. Jiang Hao watched as the messages disappeared. He was a little impressed by the tablet. How did someone create such a thing? He had discovered something. He could see the conversation on the tablet, but if he wanted to participate in the conversation, then he needed to enter the tablet. If he went in, he could see others, and others could see him. He needed to be careful next time. The messages had completely disappeared. Let's wait and see. Although he was surprised by the features of this magic treasure, he had to figure out something first. There was someone far strong behind everything. There were currently 4 users, and they had their own codenames. Jing, Xing, Liu, and Gui. What he was certain about was that others possessed a similar stone tablet. As an undercover agent, his mission was to find the person behind this. He needed to collect as many stone tablets as he could. After that, Jiang Hao put away the stone tablet and began to make talismans. He needed to earn more spirit stones because he needed more spirit liquid to help the black lotus seeds sprout faster. He also needed to prepare good quality tea for Hong Yuye. After about 20 days, Jiang Hao used his daily appraisal on the black lotus seeds in the spirit herb garden. The feedback he got from the ability informed him that the seed would sprout the next day. Jiang Hao was excited. It had been almost a month. The day was finally here. He had invested more than 1,000 spirit stones to make the seeds grow. He had to work hard to sell numerous talismans to save up enough spirit stones. I wonder how many bubbles will appear tomorrow. He began count. Even 11 only nail me nowus gave Diu Dudd1s, any woman have 25 bubbles. Jiang Hao checked the lifeblood and cultivation in his interface. There is still time left. I have a month before I head to the Devil's Den. That is enough time for me to advance to the primordial spirit realm. Jiang Hao was looking forward to it. He calmed himself and began tending to the spirit herbs. After that, he sat down on a bench and observed the garden. He saw a 16-year-old girl walking unsteadily. You are moving about unsteadily, said Jiang Hao. The girl was shocked. She lowered her head. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't damage the spirit herbs. Do you know how expensive those spirit herbs are? Jiang Hao said coldly. Your breathing is unstable, and you're out of balance. If you damage any of them, can you afford to compensate? Watching the girl panic, Jiang Hao cast some healing spells on her. Go and rest. Come back to work tomorrow when you are better. The girl was ill. She had a high fever. Why was she in the spirit herb garden when she was unwell? After that, he instructed the caretakers to stay home and not tend to the spirit herbs if they felt ill. If any of them were damaged, who would pay for them? Jiang Hao told them to rest and recover before coming to work. In the evening, Jiang Hao returned to his house. He sat in the courtyard. He couldn't calm down because he was simply too excited about tomorrow. If all the black lotus seeds spawned bubbles, he would have 50 bubbles. While waiting for the sun to rise, Jiang Hao looked at the stone tablet. He noticed that the conversation was always between those 3 people he had seen before. He even suspected that the area consisted of only 4 of them. The 3 people were talkative with lots of time on their hands. If he could blend in with them, he could find out more about the tablet. However, he didn't really have so much time on his hands. He only observed their conversation that appeared on the stone tablets occasionally. After observing it for a while, he realized that their conversation wasn't related to anything important. He no longer paid any attention to it. Early the next morning, Jiang Hao found 2 bubbles near the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. He then woke the spirit beast which was sleeping near the flower. Let's go to the spirit herb garden. The spirit beast rubbed its eyes. Master, why are we up so early today? Are you going to meet your mistress? Chapter 170. Chapter 170. The Possession. Chapter 170. The Possession. Mistress. Jiang Hao felt bitter. With the heaven extinction Gu poison in his body, it was impossible for him to feel attracted to any other woman. Although there was Hong Yuye who made him feel things. She was out of the question. The poison was simply ineffective against her. However, the heaven extinction Gu poison had helped him out multiple times, so he was optimistic about it. Moreover, it wasn't like the poison's effect couldn't be cured. It was fine as long as he kept getting stronger. Master, I only have 1 collar. Isn't it a bit shabby? Said the spirit beast. When can we get another one? When we have the time and the opportunity, said Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao had planned to buy a golden core realm collar for the beast when he could save up enough spirit stones. Can I choose it myself? No. Jiang Hao didn't hesitate at all. Master, you have to understand that I'm good at that stuff. Jiang Hao chuckled. After a while, they arrived at the spirit herb garden. Oh, right, I have to find that outer sect disciple today, said the spirit beast and ran out of the garden. Little brat, I'm going to get you, it shouted as it ran away. Jiang Hao glanced at the beast. It was about to advance yet again. It's about to reach the late stage of the foundation establishment realm. It is advancing way too fast. Jiang Hao frowned. The collar for the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm had cost him about 1,000 spirit stones. The price would be above 1,500 for higher realms. It seems the beast will advance rapidly after every step at awakening its bloodline. Jiang Hao walked into the spirit herb garden. There were only a few people there. The sky was lightening. People were just waking up, so there weren't that many people in the garden yet. If what Gui said was true, then there would be a battle soon. They would have no time to rest. Both the Heavenly Note sect and the Heavenly Saint sect were demonic sects. They had similar strengths and manpower. It was difficult for the Heavenly Saint sect to win against the Heavenly Note sect without casualties. Usually, people from any sect wouldn't think of invading other sects without a proper plan, but the Heavenly Saint sect was fanatical. Jiang Hao stood in the garden and looked at the area where he had planted the black lotus seeds. He sighed in relief. It worked. He calmed himself. He didn't show his emotions. Looking at the blue bubbles in the distance, he finally relaxed. This was the first time in his life that he was collecting so many bubbles in one go. This was indeed the fastest way to get bubbles. He only had to walk over to absorb those bubbles into his body. Jiang Hao walked to the area and bubbles swarmed over to him. The prompts appeared to inform him of his gains. The values on his interface constantly changed. In another week, he could advance to the primordial spirit realm, and there was still a month left till he left for the Devil's Den. He was in a good mood. He calculated the bubbles he had received. My lifeblood should have increased by 17 points, and my cultivation should be at 16 points. One of the pills came from another spirit herb. So, there were a total of 33 blue bubbles. Only 48 lotuses had sprouted this time. He didn't know if that was an accurate figure, but he liked the odds. The Candlelight Pill Pavilion had also benefited from this. They could have their flowers back in another 15 days. Fortunately, he hadn't suffered a loss. 2 days later, the remaining seeds also sprouted. A blue bubble appeared near them. Jiang Hao walked to his courtyard to collect the 2 bubbles that had just appeared in front of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. At this point, his cultivation and lifeblood had both reached 100. He could advance now. He decided to wait until that night. The array formation was ready. However, as soon as he arrived at the spirit herb garden, he saw Liu Xingchen waiting at the entrance. Liu Xingchen's aura had changed again. The impenetrable dark aura had almost disappeared. Jiang Hao wondered if the magic was gone from him. Liu Xingchen looked the same as ever. However, his aura was no stronger than it had been a few months ago. Jiang Hao was speechless. How did Liu Xingchen become so powerful in just a few days? He activated the daily appraisal on him. Jiang Hao was stunned. First it was the dragon, and now a wizard. Jiang Hao wondered what he would find next time when he appraised Liu Xingchen. Would the Grand Wizard and the True Dragon have a chance to turn the tides? However, something bothered Jiang Hao. Liu Xingchen was very interested in him. What was he so interested in? It was troublesome to be targeted by such a person. Liu Xingchen had never caused trouble for him so far. He even encouraged Jiang Hao to ask him for help if he ever needed it. Maybe there was no need to worry about him. Chapter 171, Chapter 171, Divine Might. Chapter 171, Divine Might. Good morning, Junior Brother Jiang. Liu Xingchen smiled. Senior Brother Liu, are you here for spirit herbs? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Usually, Liu Xingchen directly visited his house if he wanted to talk. It was rare to see him at the entrance of the spirit herb garden. Indeed. Liu Xingchen gave the list to Jiang Hao. It was a list of spirit herbs he wanted. So many. Jiang Hao looked at the list in disbelief. This was a large-scale collection of spirit herbs. There were orders for healing spirit herbs and for those for strength. It was as if someone was preparing for battle. Jiang Hao thought about the Heavenly Saint sect. Are you going to fight with the other sects? Jiang Hao asked. The two of them walked towards the spirit herb garden. Jiang Hao gave the list to one of the people present in the garden and asked them to prepare the order right away. There's the situation with the Devil's Den, and there have been incidents involving other sects. We can't rule out the possibility that someone is targeting us. We need to be prepared. The fight with Azure Mountain has drained us. We are still recovering. This is just so that we stay prepared, said Liu Xingchen. Jiang Hao nodded. The people of Law Enforcement Hall were very cautious. This was good. If the Heavenly Saint sect attacked out of the blue, the sect would be ready for a fight. I heard that you will be going into the Devil's Den soon, said Liu Xingchen. I'm going next month, Jiang Hao said. I heard some seniors talk about the situation in the Devil's Den. There are a lot of disciples put in that case. There are some from the top 10 disciples list. Also, I heard many from the 100 Bones Forest and the Heavenly Joy Pavilion will be there. The Law Enforcement Hall wouldn't get involved unless it was a major issue. I don't need to tell you to be careful. There is something else you need to do too, said Liu Xingchen. You should make sure you don't make any great contributions to the sect. The Law Enforcement Hall isn't willing to let you off the suspect list. Why? Asked Jiang Hao. Liu Xingchen had helped him stay on the suspect list in the past. Besides, Jiang Hao hadn't made any special requests, so the Law Enforcement Hall didn't really care much. It's because you have money. The Law Enforcement Hall wants to make money off of you, said Liu Xingchen. Jiang Hao was stunned. The demonic sects were indeed absurd. Everyone wanted to make money off of him. Liu Xingchen left the Cliff of Broken Hearts with the spirit herbs. Jiang Hao busied himself in the garden. If the Heavenly Saint sect really attacked in the future, the spirit herb garden would be very busy. He needed to warn Cheng Chou to make some preparations. However, Cheng Chou hadn't returned yet. It's been more than a month, and he's still not back. Cheng Chou and Xiao Li had taken longer than that last time. I wondered if they encountered anything this time on their journey. At night, Jiang Hao checked the array formation in his room. After confirming that there was no problem, he entered the array formation and prepared to advance. His strength had improved a lot from his time outside the sect. This time, he should be able to save some lifeblood and cultivation to refine his cultivation realm. Everything was ready. Jiang Hao extracted his lifeblood and cultivation. At this moment, Jiang Hao felt a powerful spiritual energy circulating around him. As the Hongmeng Sutra circulated, purple energy covered his entire body. The power was guided by the purple energy. It nourished his divine soul. Jiang Hao's primordial spirit began to condense. His golden core was slowly turning into a primordial spirit. To advance to the primordial spirit realm, one had to condense one's spiritual energy into power. Only then could the power break through the bottleneck, and his cultivation realm would advance. The process went smoothly. However, halfway through, Jiang Hao felt another force appear in his body. The force began to surge toward his primordial spirit. It was cool and gentle. It didn't disrupt his progress. He heaved a sigh of relief. He would have been in danger if it had disrupted the process at the most crucial time. This feeling was familiar. Snow God pill? I didn't ingest the pill entirely before. Jiang Hao had no choice but to stay put. The cool effect of the Snow God pill kept surging toward his forehead, as though it was trying to open up something. The power circulated continuously. Jiang Hao saw that his lifeblood and cultivation had reached 23 and 21, respectively. His soul essence had condensed. Something strange appeared between his brows. Jiang Hao wasn't in a hurry to check. He calmed himself and refined his cultivation. Early the next morning, he slowly opened his eyes. He had advanced to a new realm and had a better understanding of his body and his mind. Jiang Hao looked at his interface. Jiang Hao was surprised to see a new divine ability, divine might. When he had finally advanced, he had felt as though an eye had opened in the middle of his brows. That invisible eye must have been related to the new ability. I thought Hong Yuye gave me the Snow God pill to help repair my ability, but I didn't expect it to give me a new ability. Jiang Hao touched his forehead. He could still feel that cool sensation. The effect of divine might was obvious. It was to exert invisible pressure. It would come in handy in critical moments. At the same time, it could also defend against other people's psychological attacks. Jiang Hao compared his strength to Zhualan's. He had only used one slash of the demonic sound slash to kill Zhualan last time. However, he needed to be more careful if he faced anyone in the primordial spirit realm in the future. He got up to check the array and found that it was almost destroyed. The impact of his advancement hadn't been small. After tidying up the array, he went to the courtyard to collect bubbles. However, he saw Hong Yuye crouching beside the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. The spirit beast was unconscious. It was also tied up with a rope and hung on a branch. It swayed in the wind. This time, it looked like the beast wouldn't survive. Chapter 172, Chapter 172, The Demoness Sharp Eyes. Chapter 172, The Demoness Sharp Eyes. He looked at the bruised spirit beast. Jiang Hao felt that it would be better to leave it unconscious on the ground than to hang it up like that. Senior, he said and bowed respectfully. This time, he was fully prepared. The tea leaves and the stone tablet were all in order. What cultivation realm are you? Asked Hong Yuye as she touched the leaves of the flower gently. The middle stage of the foundation establishment realm, said Jiang Hao. Hong Yuye got up and looked at him. Middle stage of the foundation establishment realm? I think it's the late stage of the foundation establishment realm. What do you think? A terrifying aura surged. It was capable of turning everything to dust. Jiang Hao felt as though he would fall apart at any moment. He lowered his head. Senior, your eyes are sharp. I am indeed at the late stage of the foundation establishment realm. Jiang Hao made it so that he looked like he was at the late stage of the foundation establishment realm. Hong Yuye didn't say anything more about it. Did you find anything about the stone tablet? I only know that 3 people frequently talk in that reality. They are Gui, Liu, and Xing. I go by the name Jing. Is that all? She asked. That's all for now. Jiang Hao felt a bit anxious. He understood how much patience was needed to become an undercover agent. Liu Xingchen and Ming Yi were like that too. He suddenly thought of something. Now that he was in the primordial spirit realm, he might get some more information if he used the daily appraisal on Hong Yuye. However, she might detect his use of divine ability very easily. He had no choice but to wait for her to bring it up. Jiang Hao wasn't sure that he had reached a level where he could use his ability without being detected. "How many words have you exchanged with them?" asked Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao lowered his head. "Quite a few." "Is quite a few equivalent to 3 words only?" asked Hong Yuye. "Pretty much." Jiang Hao nodded. Hong Yuye chuckled. "Find out who's behind the stone tablets. You won't be helping me free. When the time comes, it'll be worth it. However, if my patience runs out." A ray of sunlight fell in the courtyard, and Hong Yuye dissipated in the light. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. He had barely escaped a disaster. It would be extremely difficult to find the person behind the stone tablets. He needed to take it slow. He would appear distant and mysterious to the others so that they were curious about him, instead of coming off as suspicious. If new people joined during that time, it would be even better. If he was no longer a newcomer, he might be accepted more willingly into the group. As for Hong Yuye's patience, he didn't dare think about that. There was the immortal peach tree and the heavenly fragrance Dao flower to take care of, so he might not be killed that easily. It's just that he didn't have the freedom to do as he pleased. While Jiang Hao thought about it, he heard the wail of the spirit beast. Jiang Hao untied it from the tree branch and placed it on the ground. "Master, did you provoke someone? Why do they keep beating me up?" "Yes." Jiang Hao nodded. "I provoked a Demoness. Master, you need to work hard and be careful. The more amiable you are, the more friends I will make." Jiang Hao chuckled. He then let the spirit beast go to the spirit herb garden. He then thought about his next course of action. "After refining my cultivation, I need to update my reappearance of the hidden spirit ability. I also need to store 2 attacks in my wrist guard. After that, I'll start learning the spells of the Hongmeng Heart Sutra." At noon, Jiang Hao absorbed the remaining cultivation points to refine his cultivation. He hid 2 attacks in his wrist guard and stored his power in the reappearance of the hidden spirit ability. After doing all that, he spent half an afternoon recovering his strength. He then headed to the spirit herb garden to collect bubbles. I still need to confirm how many days it takes for the heavenly fragrance Dao flower to spawn bubbles. After returning from the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao tried to study the techniques he could learn in the new cultivation realm. He still did not know what spells and techniques were open to him. The learning difficulty was ridiculously high. The learning difficulty was off the charts, mainly because the form of the technique was somewhat different from the ones he had encountered before. Days passed in this manner. As expected, the heavenly fragrance Dao flower didn't give any more bubbles. On the 5th day, 2 bubbles appeared near it. Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. If bubbles appeared steadily at similar times, he could advance to the next stage in a year and a half. However, his cultivation was pitifully low now. 2 days later, Jiang Hao asked the people from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion to inspect the black lotus seedlings. The one who had visited for inspection was a senior in the peak of the Golden Core realm. He was shocked when he saw the seedlings. "So fast. How did you achieve this, junior brother?" Lian Daoji looked at Jiang Hao. "I just got lucky," said Jiang Hao. Naturally, he couldn't tell Lian Daoji that he had spent around 1,000 spirit stones to make the seeds sprout. "Strong people always credit their achievement to luck," said Lian Daoji with a smile. "I'm Lian Daoji, by the way. And you are?" "Jiang Hao. Junior brother Jiang, I still have dozens of black lotus seeds here. I wonder if your spirit herb garden will accept them." Jiang Hao shook his head apologetically. "I'm sorry, but we can't. This time, it was really luck. These flowers can't sprout within 2 months. I hope you understand, senior brother Lian." He wasn't interested in planting more black lotus for now. He didn't have enough spirit stones for that, and he was leaving for the Devil's Den soon. If anyone else took over this task, it'd only be trouble. "Is that so?" said Lian Daoji, deep in thought. "Then, will you be willing to take such orders in the future?" "I am," said Jiang Hao. But it depends on the situation. When planting difficult herbs, they needed to be approved by the one managing the spirit herb garden. If the garden accepted it and the herbs didn't turn out well, then there would be unnecessary trouble. No one dared to take full responsibility in such cases. Jiang Hao was willing to spend his own spirit stones in raising the seeds solely for the bubbles. "All right. I will have some juniors deliver the orders next time," said Lian Daoji. He was very pleased with the outcome. He thought Jiang Hao might have a talent when it came to planting the spirit herbs. "There won't be any delay in payment, so you can rest assured," he said. Since more than 50 alchemists from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion had been attacked and robbed because of their debt, they needed to establish their credibility once again. The other spirit herb gardens were willing to accept simple orders but refused to plant the more expensive and difficult kinds of herbs. The Candlelight Pill Pavilion was facing a crisis and wanted a reliable and simple transaction regarding spirit herbs. Golden Core alchemists didn't lack spirit stones, so they preferred to do reliable and simple business. Those in the lower realms, like the Foundation Establishment Alchemist, lacked spirit stones, so they often tried to find a cheap way out. It ended up causing trouble for everyone. Chapter 173, Chapter 173, The Universe in a Palm. Chapter 173, The Universe in a Palm. Jiang Hao accompanied Lian Daoji to the entrance and he left. The people from the Candlelight Pill Pavilion seemed to have a lot of spirit herbs at hand. If he maintained a good relationship with them, the Candlelight Pill Pavilion might send more seeds to be planted in the garden. People got offended very easily. He needed to read carefully and leave them some leeway. At noon, Cheng Chou arrived at the spirit herb garden with Xiao Li. Xiao Li looked a bit disheveled, she wasn't injured. In contrast, Cheng Chou was bruised all over. Jiang Hao gave Cheng Chou a spirit rejuvenating pill and told him to rest. Xiao Li took out a bag of snacks. "Senior brother Jiang, this is for you." She looked at him reluctantly. "Where's the beast?" "I brought something for it too. It went to look for Chu Chuan." "You should also go and meet him," said Jiang. "How?" Jiang Hao wanted to ask Cheng Chou what had happened on the way. Xiao Li looked at Cheng Chou in worry. "He'll be fine." "Don't worry," said Jiang Hao gently. Xiao Li felt at ease. She disappeared down the road. She was extremely fast. Jiang Hao sat down and looked at the red pastries that Xiao Li had handed him. He thought it might be made up of red beans. He activated his daily appraisal ability. Jiang Hao smiled and ate one. He chewed it properly. He felt that the texture was worse than before. Xiao Li's mother must be getting on in years. When he finished his pastries, Cheng Chou also finished his meditation. "How are your injuries?" he asked. "Much better." Cheng Chou quickly got up. "Tell me about your journey," said Jiang Hao. They had been away for nearly 2 months this time. He wanted to know if they had encountered any trouble, or if Xiao Li had refused to come back to the sect. "There was no problem when we left from here," said Cheng Chou. The 2 elders were very happy to see Xiao Li. They had saved up in the past few months to make delicious food for junior sister Xiao Li. It seemed they had prepared it for many months hoping she would come home. Xiao Li was obviously over the moon to see them. However, she was different from how she is here in the sect. She didn't eat too much. She was afraid her parents wouldn't have enough for themselves. Xiao Li helped her mother with sewing. She helped to chop up firewood for them to use. She even fetched water for them. Her father occasionally told her how proud he was of her. Xiao Li agreed. She tried to draw on the wall to mark her height to prove to them that she was all grown up. It made the 2 old people laugh. I asked around the village. The people say that the 2 elders try to save up as much as they can so that they can make good food for Xiao Li when she returns. They often sit at the gate as though waiting for her. Jiang Hao nodded. "Did you and Xiao Li take something back for them too?" "We did," said Cheng Chou. "We bought a lot of food along the way, but they are too old to digest something like that. After the New Year celebrations, her father fell ill, so we stayed with them for a long time. In fact, we only started our journey back to the sect after he was feeling well. I bought them a lot of medicinal herbs and pills." I even helped them raise some chickens and ducks. They might not be able to kill them for food, but they won't feel lonely. On the way back, we were attacked. Although junior sister Xiao Li fights very well, there were too many of those creatures. Jiang Hao nodded and looked at Cheng Chou. You did very well. I can sense that your strength has improved, and your cultivation is more refined. I think you can advance to the foundation establishment realm this year or maybe next year. You're very close. Take these pills. Thank you, senior brother Jiang, said Cheng Chou gratefully. The two elders. Xiao Li's adoptive parents are getting weaker by the day. They might not last long. I know, Jiang Hao said softly. We can help her visit her house at least twice a year. If she could advance twice a year, that would be enough. In about 15 days, I'm leaving for the Devil's Den. Take care of things here while I'm gone. Don't let strangers in. The Heavenly Saint cult had its puppets. They could easily infiltrate the garden by pretending to be someone from the sect. If he wasn't around, it would be difficult for the others to notice it. Cheng Chou nodded. With the spirit beast in the garden, he felt more at ease. The beast was very powerful and was very perceptive of problems. After that, Jiang Hao spent most of his time studying the techniques of the Hongmeng Heart Sutra. After 7 days, he finally grasped the technique he was trying so hard to understand. It was called the universe in a palm technique. At first, Jiang Hao had thought that this technique might be an offensive technique. On closer inspection, it turned out to be more of a sealing technique. The universe in a palm wrapped everything with purple energy and stored it in his palm. It was somewhere between a sealing and a spatial technique. Jiang Hao didn't know what exactly it was because he hadn't succeeded at it completely. If the first technique was this difficult, the following techniques would likely be even more challenging. He would need exemplary strength and mental state to master them all. I have only 7 days left. I wonder how much I can learn in that time. Jiang Hao focused on studying the techniques. On the day that he needed to leave for the Devil's Den, Jiang Hao awoke from his meditation. He got up and walked to the courtyard. The sky was still dim, and the sun was not up yet. The spirit beast was also drooling in its sleep near the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Jiang Hao looked at the tea set on the table. He extended his hand and circulated the Hongmeng Heart Sutra. Purple energy enveloped everything. He grasped at it. He used the universe in a palm technique. Purple energy surged and covered the entire tea set. Then it returned to Jiang Hao's hand. The tea set was gone. It had disappeared from the table. This is useful. He looked at the sphere in his palm. It was made up of dense purple energy. The tea set was inside the sphere. Unfortunately, it's not stored. It was only shrunk and then sealed. He waved gently, and the tea set returned to the table. He turned to look at the beast. The purple energy surged once again. In an instant, the beast was covered by purple energy and ended up in his palm. The beast was still asleep. It seems weaker power won't be able to break through the sphere. I need to practice more. The state at which it is in, it can't withstand powerful magic. At that moment, a talisman flew to him. Jiang Hao placed the beast down and picked up the talisman. It was a message. He was called to gather with the others. It was time to head to the Devil's Den. He wasn't worried this time. He had advanced to the primordial spirit realm and had 2 hidden abilities, divine might and the universe in a palm. This was an opportunity to refine his cultivation. There would definitely be danger everywhere, but he was prepared for it. Chapter 174, Chapter 174, You Can Trust Me. Chapter 174, You Can Trust Me. Get up. Jiang Hao gently kicked the rabbit. It was still drooling near the flower. Jiang Hao understood why she had hung up the beast on her last visit. The spirit beast was lucky it was still alive. Master. The spirit beast sat up and yawned. Why are you up so early? Take these. Jiang Hao passed some spirit stones and spirit herbs to the spirit beast. When Chu Chuan advances to the 2nd stage of the lifeblood refinement realm, give that to him. He should be able to advance in a few months. All right, said the spirit beast as it accepted the things. Chu Chuan hasn't asked for the tests to stop. So, you can't stop testing him every week, okay? Master, leave it to me. You can trust me. I handle things pretty well in your absence, said the beast. Jiang Hao raised his eyebrows. He was even more worried after hearing that. However, the beast had done a pretty good job of keeping things running when he was out of the sect. Master, are you going out again? Not really out. I'll be within the sect. Jiang Hao watered the spirit herbs in his courtyard before he left. So many days had passed, and yet there were no bubbles near the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. He wondered if bubbles would spawn again. Unfortunately, he didn't have time to find out. When Jiang Hao was ready to head to the law enforcement hall, Han Ming suddenly arrived to meet him. Senior brother Jiang, it's been too long, he said as he held on to his word. Junior brother Han, you look even more impressive than before, said Jiang Hao. Han Ming should be 22 this year. He entered the inner sect at the age of 18 and was in the early stage of the foundation establishment realm. 4 years had passed. He was now at the late stage of the foundation establishment realm. The aura surged around him. He wasn't an ordinary disciple in the foundation establishment realm. He truly deserved the special ability of being favored by the spirits of mountains and rivers. Han Ming smiled. I came here to challenge you today. Are you free for a sparring match? I'm just about to head to the law enforcement hall because some of us have to gather there for a mission, but I have a little time I can spare. If it were someone else, he would have politely refused. However, it was Han Ming. He was always willing to spar with him. Jiang Hao had been 19 when he first met Han Ming. Now, he had already reached the primordial spirit realm in 4 years. They both were at the early stage of the foundation establishment realm at that time. Right here? Han Ming asked. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. Han Ming gripped his sword, and his aura surged. He didn't attack directly. He was waiting for something to brew. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, and Han Ming flickered like lightning. Clang! He unsheathed his sword and launched a thunderous attack at Jiang Hao. Clang! Boom! Jiang Hao swung his saber and cut through the empty air behind Han Ming. With a clang, a long sword fell and plunged into the ground. It was Han Ming's sword. Jiang Hao's blade stopped inches from Han Ming's ear. If he hadn't stopped, Han Ming would have been gravely injured. Junior brother Han, thank you for letting me win. Jiang Hao slowly withdrew his sword. Senior brother Jiang, your cultivation, Han Ming in disbelief. He had always assumed that he would break through to the next stage earlier than Jiang Hao. I'm in the late stage of the foundation establishment realm now, said Jiang Hao. I went out of the sect for a while and encountered something good. It helped me advance to the late stage. Han Ming picked up his sword, bowed to Jiang Hao, and turned to leave. He seemed unconvinced. He wanted to be 1 level higher than Jiang Hao and defeat him. Then he would call him junior brother Jiang. Jiang Hao shook his head as he saw Han Ming leave, but he didn't mind. Han Ming was a rather peculiar person. He wasn't a bad person because he wasn't scheming against anyone. He just wanted to win. If he continued to cultivate and practice his skills, he might become very powerful one day. Han Ming was talented and willing to work hard. The only flaw was that he got jealous too fast. Jiang Hao wondered if people would find it too easy to manipulate him. Jiang Hao did not delay any longer. He arrived at the foot of the mountain where the law enforcement hall was located. He didn't Liu Xingchen or Mingyi there. The spies always kept such a low profile that not many people knew about them. Junior brother Jiang, you've advanced. Mu Qi asked Jiang Hao in surprise. I was away from the sect a while back. I obtained some things and cultivated diligently after returning. Fortunately, I was able to advance this time, said Jiang Hao. He used the same old excuse. It was rare but not unheard of. Junior brother Jiang, you seem to have many such encounters. Mu Qi chuckled. The others will be here soon. After we enter, you might have to go with the others in the foundation establishment realm. Be careful. Thank you for the reminder, senior brother Mu. He knew that he was being targeted by many people in the sect, and there would always be some danger wherever he went. They waited for a while. People kept arriving at the place they gathered. Finally, disciples from all 12 branches were there. A woman stood before them and spoke. Junior brothers and junior sisters, since everyone is here, let's set off. There will be someone to guide you when you enter the Devil's Den. The Golden Core Realm Cultivators will gather at the Golden Core area. The Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivators will gather at the Foundation Establishment area with the others. Individual missions are possible, but insufficient achievements may result in punishment. Do we have to pay? Jiang Hao wondered. Normal sect missions didn't involve paying spirit stones as punishments. Only special missions had that requirement. The missions were always created with the public in mind. For example, the Law Enforcement Hall's missions were always related to something outside the sect because people usually took them to be able to venture outside the sect. The same was true for the Devil's Den missions. Jiang Hao thought about it for a moment. He decided not to take the mission alone. He didn't want to stand out. The group rode their swords and flew to the Devil's Den. Jiang Hao saw some familiar faces. Xin Yue from the Thunderfire Peak, Zhang Shijiu from the Ice Moon Valley, and Yu Yu from the Flowing Waterfall were there too. Jiang Hao had fulfilled missions with Xin Yue and Zhang Shijiu several times now. At the Devil's Den, Jiang Hao and the others were greeted by people who were ready to receive them. There were 2 people. One was a Primordial Spirit Realm Cultivator and the other was a Golden Core Realm Cultivator. Jiang Hao knew that Primordial Spirit Realm Cultivator. He had seen her before. She was Ning Xian from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. The Golden Core Realm Cultivator was a muscular man, carrying a huge shield. It seemed like he was from the Flowing Waterfall, just like Yu Yu. If you want to go solo, you can leave halfway. For now, follow me, said Ning Xian and led the group away. Jiang Hao heard the man say the same. Junior brother Jiang, we meet again, said Zhang Shijiu. Xin Yue and Yu Yu also walked over to him. Senior brother Zhang, senior sister Xin, and senior sister Yu, how nice to see you. Jiang Hao said politely. This time, Zhang Shijiu seemed genuinely happy to see him. He understood Jiang Hao's strength to some extent. The fact that Jiang Hao had never attacked them implied that they didn't need to be hostile toward one another. Besides, with Jiang Hao present, they would be much safer. Chapter 175, Chapter 175, The Unexpected Accident. Chapter 175, The Unexpected Accident. Junior brother Jiang, are you in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm? Asked Yu Yu in surprise. Xin Yue didn't seem surprised at all, but she was curious to know how Jiang Hao had advanced so quickly. However, her trip to the Devil's Den with Jiang Hao before had taught her that he wasn't ordinary. He was strong. I had a fortuitous encounter during my journey and luckily advanced, but I am still far behind from being a true late-stage Foundation Establishment realm cultivator, Jiang Hao said humbly. Advancing too quickly can easily lead to an unstable foundation. Junior brother Jiang, you should spend some time refining your cultivation, said Yu Yu with kind intentions. Jiang Hao nodded gratefully. He noticed that Yu Yu and Xin Yue were both at the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment realm, while Zhang Shijiu had reached the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm. There were only 2 cultivators at the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm. The disciple you recruited, are they doing well? Xin Yue asked. The 3 I brought back are average, but fortunately, one of them is putting in some effort. Otherwise, I was afraid of getting chastised for bringing in useless people. At this time, the group went deeper into the Devil's Den. Jiang Hao confirmed that there were no major problems outside. The 3 disciples I brought back are okay, but I wouldn't say they are outstanding, Zhang Shijiu said. Perhaps in a few years, they will shine. Jiang Hao was quite curious if he was talking about the last disciple he had picked. The person had average talent but extraordinary perseverance. Jiang Hao thought about what to say. I haven't paid much attention to them in the past few days, but there is one disciple that stresses me out. Junior brother Jiang, you don't need to worry too much. After all, you brought back a Golden Core Realm cultivator, Zhang Shijiu said. He was a little envious. I asked around after returning to the sect, and it seems that Lin Mo, the disciple I recruited, entered the law enforcement hall. He turned to look at Jiang Hao. You know that friend Lin Mo and junior sister Zhao had? The one you recruited. It seems that he suffered quite a blow. They are growing apart because of the gap in their strength. As expected, said Jiang Hao. Indeed. Yu sighed. Having friends like that can be a good thing sometimes, but it can also be stressful. Junior brother Lin Ji is not strong enough, but if he forcefully tries to keep up, he will only invite trouble. I heard that he knows how to hide. It's only his two friends who can ever find him, said Zheng Shijiu with a chuckle. They probably still consider him a friend, despite their high talent and strong cultivation. Jiang Hao looked down at the passing woods and remained silent. Lin Ji was already having more difficulties than the others, both in terms of cultivation and circumstances. If it were just him alone, it wouldn't be a problem. Unfortunately, his two friends had exceptional talent, which put immense pressure on him. It would make him feel very bad whether his friends chose to ignore him or stay with him. In a few more years, those two friends might look down on him. It might not happen intentionally, but it would feel like that anyway. The differences always got in the way. However, it seemed Lin Ji had secrets of his own. Next time, I will use the daily appraisal on him. We're almost there, said a voice from the front. Jiang Hao and the others stopped talking and looked ahead. They could see a barrier of light enveloping the area. It sealed off the entire region. In front of the barrier, there was a temporary defensive line with people patrolling the surroundings. After landing, the senior who led them turned to look at them. You can stay near here and wait for instructions. If you don't arrive when instructions are being issued, we'll assume you are going on a solo mission. Check in here every day to confirm your whereabouts. Find accommodations on your own, and then take turns investigating the situation. You have 3 days of rest. After 3 days, you'll need to move. Jiang Hao and the others began to search for accommodations. Jiang Hao observed his surroundings, trying to confirm whether there were any powerful individuals here. He also wanted to familiarize himself with the surroundings. He discovered 3 golden core realm cultivators. The rest were all at the foundation establishment realm. There were no lifeblood refining realm cultivators present, which was understandable. The Devil's Den was not for someone at the lifeblood refinement realm. He suddenly thought of something. In the future, if Lin Ji and the others advanced to higher cultivation, would they choose to go out for missions? Jiang Hao found a decent spot and started to build a wooden house for himself. He maintained his peak condition to prevent any accidents. The next day, Zheng Shijiu found him. I heard that it's very easy to encounter demon dwellers there. Moreover, the strength of demon dwellers varies, so it might get very dangerous. Some people never got to leave from here. Jiang Hao frowned. Are they still assumed to have undertaken solo missions? Zheng Shijiu shook his head. I think they are filed under missing persons. I see. It would be much easier for him to leave the team. He didn't want to leave unless it was necessary. It seemed better to wait for his turn. It would be best if he could find some spirit herbs to plant here. He had an uneasy feeling that something was brewing here. Ice Moon Valley's Zheng Shijiu, Cliff of Broken Hearts Jiang Hao, are you here? Asked a voice. Jiang Hao and Zheng Shijiu turned to see who was calling them. Yes, they said. Follow me. Something happened to the reconnaissance team, Yi Ji said in a low voice. Jiang Hao was surprised. He hadn't expected his turn to come so soon. He followed them anyway. He realized that Yu Yu and Xin Yue were also there. There was also a middle-aged man with a scar on his face. He was at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm. The group of 6 people passed through the defensive barrier and rode their swords deeper into the Devil's Den. If you encounter anything dangerous, you can retreat. Don't try to be reckless. I cannot save you, said Yi Ji. Jiang Hao and the others didn't say anything. This was normal. It was unrealistic to expect help from others in a demonic sect. Zheng Shijiu and the group looked deeply worried. If the scouting team had encountered a problem, it meant danger was ahead. It meant that they would be taking a huge risk by entering the danger zone. However, they couldn't refuse. The mission had to be carried out. Soon, Jiang Hao and the others saw signs of a fight in the forest ahead. Let's go down and take a look. Yi Ji slowly descended. Jiang Hao followed along. However, the moment he landed, he sensed an attack incoming. Yi Ji quickly noticed it too. Be careful. She stretched out her hand and cast a shield spell. Boom. A giant rock was blocked from hitting them. Jiang Hao immediately looked to the side and frowned. There were so many well-hidden demon dwellers in this place. Yi Ji only noticed it only when it was too close to them. Be careful. She was being held back by a powerful force. It was too late to think about escape. Zheng Shijiu and the others also noticed that something was wrong. There wasn't enough time to counterattack. Just as they were about to take this attack head-on, a beam of moonlight appeared. Jiang Hao drew his saber and swung it down. Boom. The moonlight slash cut through the attack and destroyed the demon dweller's disguise. It was a late-stage Foundation establishment demon. Zheng Shijiu and the group stared in disbelief. The demon was just 2 meters away from them. They had been caught off guard. Jiang Hao didn't stop there. He used the demonic sound 1,000 miles to arrive in front of the demon dweller and slashed at it. The demon was beheaded. Jiang Hao stepped back and sheathed his saber. Seniors, please be careful. I think there are more of these things here. Chapter 176, Chapter 176, About to be killed. Chapter 176, About to be killed. Jiang Hao did not pay much attention to his seniors' shocked faces. His current strength was set to the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Anyone in that realm who was perceptive enough could have done what he did. He was more concerned about the demons around him. The demons weren't stronger than the ones he had fought before, but they had become better at hiding and disguising themselves. It seemed that they were much more difficult to deal with than before. Zheng Shijiu and the others recovered from their shock and became alert. Yu Yu stomped on the ground. Boom. The ground shook. Zheng Shijiu waved his paper fan and cast a spell. Snow started falling in the place. The tremors on the ground shook the demons out of hiding. Those that remained were exposed by the heavy snow. Clang. Xin Yuyue attacked with her sword. Each attack was imbued with thunder and fire. The scarred middle-aged man also leaped up at this moment and tore the demons apart with his bare hands. Jiang Hao also joined the fray. This time, he didn't go for fatal strikes but attacked the weakest point on the demons' necks with his dagger. As each demon fell, white bubbles spawned. All the demons were slain. Jiang Hao walked past the corpses. Not even a single blue bubble. Jiang Hao sighed. However, he had expected that. Since he had advanced to the primordial spirit realm, blue bubbles had become rarer and rarer. When he was at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm, he found so many blue bubbles everywhere. If he wanted better bubbles, he would have to kill demons in the primordial spirit realm, or the golden core realm. But where would he find such strong demons? There are no survivors, said Zhang Shijiu. Jiang Hao went over to join them. He had made up his mind to be patient even if there were not enough bubbles to be found. He could use this time to familiarize himself with the universe in a palm ability and to study the nameless manual. Jiang Hao of the Cliff of Broken Hearts, said Yi Ji. There was a hint of admiration in the way she called out his name this time. She had thought that people would get injured, but Jiang Hao had done well. Yes, Jiang Hao said. Have you cultivated spiritual techniques? Yi Ji asked. Some, said Jiang Hao. He knew some spirit techniques that had come in handy. The nameless manual had taught him so much. Yi Ji nodded. Be vigilant and see if the previous scouting team left anything behind. The 5 people agreed and began to investigate. Zheng Shijiu and Xin Yue heaved a sigh of relief. They felt much safer with Jiang Hao around. Yu Yu looked at Jiang Hao. She frowned. She cultivated to pursue a solid foundation in her cultivation realm, so she saw many things that others missed. Jiang Hao just killed the demon with one blow. His power was stable, and his cultivation was refined. She felt embarrassed because she hadn't done well in front of her seniors. Jiang Hao walked forward and looked at the innermost part of the demon cave. The light from the sky was still shining. It was as if the whole place had some kind of celestial glow. The dangers emerged from there. This was the core of the devil's den. I wonder what happened inside. With a sigh, he began to ask about the whereabouts of his fellow disciples. Looking at the signs of battle, it seemed that they were chased inside. There is a high chance that they might have discovered something. Many trees have been destroyed in this area. It seems the fight was intense. I found something, said Zhang Shijiu. It's the mark of the Ice Moon Valley. Zhang Shijiu pointed at the watermarks on the ground. Jiang Hao observed the marks and found traces of faint spiritual energy swirling within. Can guess which direction they went in? Asked Yi Ji. This way. Zhang Shijiu pointed to the left. Let's go and take a look. The 6 people headed toward the direction of the mark. Jiang Hao was at the back. After a short time, they arrived at the riverbank. The mark shows that something is underwater, Zhang Shijiu said. Yi Ji nodded. She took a step forward and used her powerful strength to separate the river. Splash. Jiang Hao saw a magical formation appearing in the water. There was indeed something there. Zhang Shijiu and the middle-aged man with a scar on his face pulled out the people who were unconscious. They found 3 people. 1 man and 2 women. Among them, one of the women was slightly injured. The other 2 were pretty severely wounded, while the other 2 had more serious injuries. Sister Xia. Zhang Shijiu recognized the woman. Something big has happened, said the woman called Xia when she saw Zhang Shijiu. Enemies, among the demons. They wanted to trap us. We need to escape or request more reinforcement. Otherwise, we're doomed. Let's go back first. Yi Ji got up. As they headed out, Jiang Hao turned back to look at the place but didn't feel anything amiss. Don't worry. There are seniors of the sect inside the Devil's Den. Our area is on the outer side. There shouldn't be any powerful demons here, said Yi Ji. The others nodded but couldn't say anything more. Soon, they returned to their campsite. Yi Ji asked them to take the wounded people to the alchemists while she escorted Xia to the Golden Core Realm cultivators. They needed to discuss the situation and take action. Do you think what Senior Xia said is true? Xin Yue asked. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There must be some danger around here, Yu said. We should be prepared. If we are trapped inside and need support from the sect, will they come on time? Jiang Hao asked. It's hard to say. Zhang Shijiu frowned. If we are trapped here, it probably means that the Gold Core Realm seniors are also trapped. Otherwise, they would run to help. I think that the sect will provide support in that case. If the sect had enough manpower to spare, we might be getting more reinforcement soon. Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. The Heavenly Note sect didn't have enough manpower right now. They had suffered great losses in the previous battle with Azure Mountain. Besides, they were in conflict with the Black Heaven sect, so many people had been dispatched to the mines. The Heavenly Saint sect was also becoming restless for a battle. They might infiltrate the Devil's Den. If they were trapped here, they had to look out for themselves. The situation wasn't looking good. Chapter 177, Chapter 177, I don't need evidence to kill you. Chapter 177, I don't need evidence to kill you. The next day, Jiang Hao didn't receive any clear information or instructions. Perhaps the seniors were uncertain themselves, or maybe they were waiting for reinforcements. Since there was no news, Jiang Hao could only investigate on his own. Every morning, he observed his surroundings for clues. After 3 days, there was no progress. The only thing they could do was work on their cultivation and be patient. This time, Jiang Hao focused more on the light and dust technique and studied the 3rd form of the Heavenly Blade. He couldn't learn the 4th form yet. Currently, the fastest attack technique was the 3rd form, the Meteor. If the demons had transformed from prey to hunters, the Meteor technique would be effective against them. But there was one thing that made him curious. How were the demons able to form traps? The demons only acted on impulse. They weren't intelligent life forms. They didn't have the intelligence to plan traps for their enemies. Are there people helping them, or are the demons really capable of higher intelligence? Jiang Hao felt that the latter was more likely. When it came to spirit beasts, the powerful once possessed some form of intelligence. Perhaps demons were the same. 5 days later, there was an eruption outside. Jiang Hao walked out of his makeshift cabin and saw 2 disgruntled Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. What exactly is going on? Are we going to be trapped here as prey to the demons? One of them shouted. If that's the case, we might as well leave now, the other added. The words of the 2 people puzzled the other disciples. Jiang Hao looked around and realized that none of them knew about the current situation. They seemed to be hearing the news for the first time. What are you talking about? Someone asked. Don't you know? One of the 2 men said. We heard the demons are somehow different from before. They plan elaborate traps to ensnare us. What? Is this true? They were unaware of the whole situation. Jiang Hao lowered his head. It seemed the wise choice to make right now would be to leave this place. However, this was a sect mission. They couldn't just leave. Everyone waited for the seniors in Golden Core Realm to arrive and explain everything to them. How will they explain? Tough, thought Jiang Hao. Will they tell the truth? Jiang Hao wasn't as anxious as the others. He was just waiting and observing the situation to make the best choice. Silence. A loud voice boomed from above. Yi Ji stood high above and looked at everyone. Finally, her gaze fell on the 2 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators who caused the commotion. One was tall and the other looked fierce. Neither of them seemed like easy opponents. Senior Sister Yi Ji, everyone wants to know the truth. Are we going to be trapped here? Asked the tall disciple. Yi Ji flew down. She stared at the 2 people calmly. Where did you hear about this? We heard it from someone, said the fiercer one of the 2. Who did you hear it from? Yi Ji asked. We can't tell you. We just want to know if it's the truth, said the tall disciple. Yi Ji remained calm. People who know about this matter have been with us for the past few days. Nobody else knows about this unless you are traitors colluding with the demons. The sudden accusation shocked the 2 disciples. Before they could respond, Yi Ji made a move. There was a golden burst of power. Yi Ji reached out from a distance and strangled the fierce disciple. Blood spurted out. His body twisted. There was a loud bang, and he died on the spot. The tall disciple was trembling in fear. What evidence do you have to accuse us? Aren't you afraid of the consequences of killing disciples on a hunch? Evidence. Yi Ji smiled. Look around. This is neither the sect nor the law enforcement hall. Being suspicious is enough to get you killed here. She gathered a powerful force in her hand and threw it. Boom. The tall disciple was instantly obliterated. The other people were so frightened that they didn't dare to make a sound. Jiang Hao was also quite surprised that Yi Ji had killed them on the spot. If no one knew about the information, could the 2 really have been traitors? If it wasn't true, would they have challenged a Golden Core Realm cultivator? Jiang Hao decided to examine the corpses. He activated the daily appraisal. So, they really were traitors. Jiang Hao was surprised. He wondered if Yi Ji had actually known it, or if she had just acted on a hunch and killed them. Well, you know about it now. What they said is true. But we haven't received orders to evacuate. You can choose to retreat at your own risk or go solo to fulfill the missions, or stay here quietly and wait for further instructions, said Yi Ji. She turned around and left. Her words left the others astonished. The disciples looked at each other. Most chose to stay where they were. Evacuating without orders was a serious offense. Nobody dared to do it. Going solo to fulfill the mission would be suicidal if this was a trap. It was better to stay put and wait for further instructions. Jiang Hao returned to his wooden cabin. In the following days, there were no more internal investigations after the initial exploration of the surroundings. It seemed that being trapped here had become an inevitable situation. The demons hadn't launched an attack so far, though. It's been too quiet. Jiang Hao walked out of his cabin, feeling uneasy. The others were feeling the same. They were bored and scared. They were also becoming impatient. Jiang Hao was uneasy because the Golden Core Realm cultivators hadn't contacted the sect yet. There had been no news. So far, the Devil's Den was within the sect. It wouldn't take long to send a message to the sect and to get a response. But there was nothing. Jiang Hao flew out on his sword. Their campsite wasn't very far away from the outside. He frowned. There was a presence in front of him. He sensed a faint spiritual energy. He increased his speed. Finally, he arrived at the edge of the forest. The faint energy was still there. Jiang Hao raised his hand and gently touched the faint energy fluctuation. Whoosh! An invisible ripple blocked his hand. Jiang Hao withdrew his hand and sighed. So, we have lost contact with the outside. That was why the sect was being so quiet. As he turned back, he saw Yi Ji approach. Chapter 178, Chapter 178, A Massive Attack. Chapter 178, A Massive Attack. Jiang Hao didn't feel surprised to see Yi Ji. Senior Sister Yi Ji, he said in greeting. Yi Ji was at the Golden Core Realm. However, compared to someone like Miao Tinglian, her Golden Core Realm wasn't as strong. She probably wasn't a formidable disciple. To become a formidable disciple, it wasn't enough to rely solely on cultivation. One needed to have innate potential, like Han Ming. His talent and potential far exceeded those of ordinary disciples at his level. Jiang Hao's current rate of progress was enough to make him a formidable disciple. The only reason he hadn't become one yet was because his talent was only above average. Also, there were speculations that his advancement was due to treasures and other encounters. He was also in the suspect list of the Law Enforcement Hall, and they thought he had ties with traitors of the sect. Yi Ji approached Jiang Hao calmly. You found it. When did it happen? Jiang Hao asked. Probably on the day you arrived. We were supposed to inform the sect as soon as we rescued the people. Unfortunately, we couldn't get out. Yi Ji stared at Jiang Hao. Are you afraid, junior brother Jiang? A little, said Jiang Hao. I couldn't tell, said Yi Ji and smiled. Do you think others know about this apart from the three of us at the Golden Core Realm? I think I'm the first to know, said Jiang Hao. He didn't think that the others had tried to venture outside. You're the seventh, said Yi Ji. What do you think of the 6 people that were with you? Know anything about anyone? I don't know, Jiang Hao shook his head. Yi Ji was a little surprised by how calmly Jiang Hao handled the situation. You seem quite calm. It's admirable. What do you think our current situation is? Not very optimistic. Jiang Hao followed her and landed on the ground. I was curious why the sect hadn't sent reinforcement. Several reasons, said Yi Ji. We report to the sect once a month. The last report we sent was on the day your group arrived. It's been only 11 days since then. Secondly, we studied this barrier and realized that it emanates from the core of the Devil's Den. If we resolve whatever is happening at the core, the barrier might disappear. Otherwise, there will be a continuous flow of power supporting this barrier, which makes it immensely difficult to break free. So, Yi Ji turned to look at Jiang Hao. Even if the sect knows, the first priority is to enter the core and solve the problem to clear a path. We must rely on ourselves for now. Can I help with anything, Senior Sister Yi Ji? Yes. I think there is something you can help with. Yi Ji looked at Jiang Hao solemnly. If it were any other time, we could just wait. However, our magical artifact that detects demons is warning us that a large horde of demons is approaching. It won't be long before they attack. At other times, we could contact the sect for reinforcement, but this time, it's different. We are trapped. Yi Ji paused and looked at Jiang Hao. She thought she would see fear or helplessness in his eyes, but there was nothing. No excitement, no fear, nothing. He only looked a little surprised. Yi Ji felt that the person in front of her was something else entirely. Most people panicked when they heard such news. Jiang Hao was taken aback. They had become the prey to the demons. The situation didn't really look good for any of them. Chapter 179, Chapter 179, I've become a tool. Chapter 179, I've become a tool. Returning to the campsite, Yi Ji walked ahead. She turned around with a smile. You can find me anytime if you run into trouble, junior brother Jiang. Jiang Hao nodded. He activated the daily appraisal on her. Well, I intended to go into the core of the Devil's Den anyway. He did want to go there. Once inside, he could face the dangers there alone. Without anyone else there, it would be easy to fight and survive until the reinforcements arrived. He could even search for demons who were in the primordial spirit realm or the golden core realm. He might find more bubbles. The only thing he needed to worry about was finding a way to escape attention. I'll wait for your confirmation tomorrow, said Yi Ji. After bidding farewell to her, Jiang Hao returned to his cabin. Nothing was surprising about the appraisal result. The people in the demonic sect functioned that way. It was normal. They used people for their own advantage and discarded them when they ran out of use. The only thing that puzzled Jiang Hao was that she had used enchantments on him 18 times. He hadn't even felt anything. It seems I need to do some research when it comes to charms and enchantments. I need to find something in the Nameless manual that helps me detect it while being used on me. Maybe I can use it to my advantage someday. Jiang Hao rummaged through his storage treasure. He found 3 books on charms and bewitchment. He wanted to read them right away, but he noticed something on the stone tablet. Messages appeared in the group. They were the same people as before. However, there was an invitation. Someone was inviting him to join in on the conversation at midnight. Maybe this is the person Hong Yuye is looking for. Jiang Hao hesitated and then decided to join in that night. He was an undercover agent, after all. He watched their conversation for a while. It was a conversation between Gui and Xing. It seemed Gui had something important taken away from her, by a python. An ability to conceal itself. Jiang Hao was envious that a beast had such an ability. After that, they started discussing the night's gathering. Jiang Hao watched for a while and then put away the stone tablet. His purpose was to go undercover. He needed to find out who was behind all the stone tablets. If he wanted to do that, he needed to blend in with the group. Just watching their conversation might not be helpful. Dan Yuan. Is that a name or a code for something? Jiang Hao thought about it but couldn't figure it out. He might be able to find out tonight. He read the books on charms and waited for midnight to arrive. At the main defense line, in the camp of the Golden Core Realm cultivators, 3 people sat cross-legged on the ground. Yi Ji sat on the left. A gloomy-faced man sat on the right. In the middle was a muscular man with a large shield by his side. You invited a late Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator? Asked Lan Feng, the gloomy-faced man. He isn't strong enough. He'll just be a cannon fodder. What's the use of taking him along? What if he's willing to sacrifice himself for me? Yi Ji smiled. He is very sharp. He detects danger and acts very efficiently. I already charmed him. If there is any danger, he'll die saving me. What was his name again? Jiang Hao of the Cliff of Broken Hearts, asked Jin. Long, the muscular man. He is still on the suspect list of the Law Enforcement Hall. You'd better be careful. We aren't going to do anything to him, said Yi Ji. Jiang Hao from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. That name sounds familiar, said Lan Feng. The demons have many treasures, but I'm not sure this place has any. If you want to go through with this, I won't stop you. You'd better destroy anything that's inside and succeed. Of course, said Yi Ji. It will be a great achievement. I'll be the last one standing. Lan Feng snorted. What's so funny? Yi Ji asked. Nothing, said Lan Feng. It's not that I look down on people you recruit, but let's talk about this Jiang Hao. He is just in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. What can he do? I know a bit about him. I remember that he advanced through some lucky encounters on his journey. He hides in the spirit herb garden and does nothing. But he might have some treasures or techniques on him. If he dies, who would take his storage treasure? Asked Lan Feng. I take 70%, and you take 30% of anything we find in his storage treasure, said Yi Ji. 60/40ths, said Lan Feng. Then let's do this. We rely on our own abilities, said Yi Ji. Okay, said Lan Feng. Jin Long didn't get involved. He would rely on his formation for defense. It was the safest. He could hang on till the end. Since they were trapped, they needed to do everything they could to survive. Jiang Hao closed the book on charms. He hadn't read everything yet. From what he had understood so far, charms were activated through body language, eyes, and speech. There was also an entry about its effect, making the other person feel infatuated with the spellcaster. If one possessed natural charm, it was easier to cast the spells and bewitch others. Every word and movement intensified the enchantment. It could even make people fall irrevocably in love with the spellcaster. It is no wonder so many people are willing to avenge senior sister Yun Ruo. They even throw away their own future and go undercover just to kill me, so they can avenge her. It was a given that some people went to the extreme to get what they want, but so many people refused to let go even after all this time. Jiang Hao sighed. Senior sister Yi Ji is trying to do the same to me. Thankfully, charms and bewitchments are useless against me because of the heaven. Extinction Jiu poison. He didn't know whether he was happy or sad about it. Chapter 180. Chapter 180. The First Gathering. Chapter 180. The First Gathering. It was time. Jiang Hao didn't hesitate. He projected his thoughts into the stone tablet. He explored its interior with his consciousness. If anything happened, he could retract his thoughts immediately. Soon, the public area appeared before him. It was different from the last time. This time, boundless starlight flowed beneath his feet like a brilliant river, with the sun and moon revolving around the celestial sphere. It was spectacular. Jiang Hao stood on a star. It was difficult to move around. He turned to his right and saw the woman from before. Liu and Xing stood to Gui's right. Just 4 people like before. The 4 of them were not in a straight line. Xing was at the front, followed by Gui, and Liu at the back. Jiang Hao looked up and saw a man sitting high above. He knew that was Dan. Violin. Senior Dan Yuan. The other 3 clasped their hands in a salute. Jiang Hao followed suit. He didn't want to provoke them. He had made enemies everywhere. He wasn't going to put his life in danger for this undercover operation. Jiang Hao just needed to be patient. If he acted suspiciously, it would not only be dangerous but he would also be kicked out of here. It's been a long time. It seems others are busy, said Dan Yuan. His voice was soft. He looked at Jiang Hao. Friend, are you a newcomer? Yes. I just started, Jiang Hao said truthfully. We're all friends here, Jing. Where are you from? I just arrived at Hidden Cloud Prefecture. I'll be here for a while, Jiang Hao said. Hidden Cloud Prefecture? That's close to where I'm right now, said Gui. I'm in the Heavenly South Prefecture. I've been on the sea lately, said Liu with a smile. I'm in the eastern region in the Heavenly Sky Prefecture, said Xing. Jiang Hao was surprised. Everyone stated their location without hesitation. So, they had been right before. It was a rule for one to mention their location. Hidden Cloud Prefecture. I have something to ask you, said Dan Yuan with a smile. Jiang Hao nodded. Since he was an undercover agent, he had to play along. If he couldn't help them, he would be of no value. He needed to play along. Do any of you have any doubts about cultivation? Dan Yuan looked at the 4 of them. Senior, I want to ask if someone who is not from the Great Thousand God sect can still cultivate the Great Thousand Spiritual Technique, said Gui. Great Thousand Spiritual Technique? Dan Yuan smiled. Is it for the sake of the Great Thousand Divine Avatar? If so, I don't recommend cultivating it. If not, then there's no problem. Why can't we cultivate it? Asked Gui, puzzled. Because the Great Thousand Divine Avatar has a fatal flaw that can only be compensated for by practicing the Cultivator techniques in the Great Thousand God sect. Other people who learn it will die. It's fine to learn it as an ordinary spiritual technique, but you don't really need it. I see. Gui nodded. Liu and Xing also asked their own questions. They also asked about various techniques. However, the information was too limited. Jiang Hao couldn't really understand much about the people from just a few questions. He only knew a bit more about Gui. She was at the Heavenly South Prefecture and was currently chasing a python who took her things. Dan Yuan answered their questions one by one. His gaze shifted to Jiang Hao. The others also looked at him. Since we have all gathered here, it must be fate that brought us together. Don't worry, young friend. You don't need to pay anything for the answers you seek, said Dan Yuan. Jiang Hao thought about it for a moment. He didn't know what he should ask. There was no problem with his cultivation. He didn't want to ask about techniques. What else was there to ask about? However, if he didn't ask something, he would be the odd one out. It would make the others unwilling to talk to him. Where can I find the snow god pill? He asked. He thought that maybe he could ask about charms and enchantments, but he couldn't muster up the courage. Charms were usually practiced by women spellcasters, so he felt self-conscious. He couldn't ask about the 7 forms of heavenly blade, or about the light and dust technique. He didn't want to reveal too much information. The snow god pill? Dan Yuan was quite surprised. Well, that's not related to cultivation, but since you're new here, I'll answer your question. The snow god pill is extremely rare. Among the 18 sects, only the powerful sects have them. The Sunset Immortal sect has one. I think the Clear Sky School and the Bright Moon sect also have them. It is rumored that the Clear Sky School even has a formula to make one, but it is hard to produce because it's very difficult to find the materials. The best time to take the pill is before advancing to the primordial spirit realm. There is a chance that it can offer you a divine ability when you advance. With it, the speed of advancement will be fast. The benefits are numerous. As for obtaining it, you can actually get it directly. You will have to find a child with exceptional talent and send them to the Clear Sky School. They will obviously take such a disciple under their wing. Jiang Hao was surprised. He had taken the pill before advancing to the primordial spirit realm, and it had given him a divine ability. He didn't know if Hong Yuye had intended it to be so. It was highly likely she had planned it all. Thank you for giving me the information, Senior, said Jiang Hao. Now, he had a better understanding of the snow god pill. It was unexpected that the Sunset Immortal sect had one. Senior, do you have any missions? Asked Gui. I do have one, Dan Yuan said. I want you to help me find something. What is it? Xing asked. The heavenly fragrance Dao flower, Dan Yuan said calmly. I just need information about it. Anything you can find. Its appearance, fragrance, blooming cycle, etc. You can exchange that information for a favor from me. Just information? Jiang Hao asked. The heavenly fragrance Dao flower? It's the first time I've heard of it, said Gui. It's a divine item that is said to have fallen at the beginning of heaven and earth. That's all I know for now, said Xing. Information is enough, but it would be best if you could find the location of it, said Dan Yuan. Jiang Hao nodded. Obviously, he wasn't going to tell them that he had the flower in his courtyard. However, it confirmed something. Dan Yuan wasn't in the southern region. Otherwise, he would already know that the flower was in the Heavenly Note sect. The Heavenly Saint sect, Black Even sect, and Azure Mountain all knew that the flower was in his courtyard. They had sent many spies. The Sunset Immortal sect was probably unaware of it. Should I reveal a little bit about the flower? Thought Jiang Hao. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.